Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the ESL Premiership powered by Intel. It is Grand Finals day and we're about to kickstart things with the AOC refresh. We're going to talk through all of what we've seen in the last few play days and kickstart what is the journey to conversation behind this Grand Finals. There's 1 day left and a few teams are thriving at the top. Before we get into any of that, Retro, brother, how you doing?
Doing well, man. Obviously, World Cup's on this weekend. Going to be very keen to see how things go over there. I think it's Croatia, Brazil right now, and up in penalties, so it's all getting interesting there. But of course, no Grand Finals over in the World Cup today. It is the Grand Finals here of the ESL Prem Apex Legends.
That's it, mate. Of course, we'll take a look through Play Day 7 highlights as well as we kickstart things in a conversation over there. And there's been, consistently a few teams at the top, hasn't it? UTFT has to be one, Mythic another. These are the sides who are consistently putting a monstrous amount of points, right? And I think, where we stand right now, UTFT, I don't see a world in which they get pushed up the top. They have looked untouchable. From this day one, they have looked the best.
There's no way they get stopped. I think they are so far clear of the rest of the pack. The way they play against everyone else, they've just looked insane. They've looked so good throughout this entire tournament so far. And I think it's correct and only right that they obviously earned that first place prize. But ultimately, it isn't just about what happens at the top. It's about what happens in the rest of the pack as well, right? And there is still plenty of chances for the rest of the teams to fight for second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way until ninth you get paid out here in this tournament. So that's what you're looking to try and make an impression on, right? Try and climb the pack as best as you can.
Yeah, especially for a couple of those fringe teams as well. It's about kind of trying to continue off earlier results and try and get those, few points under your belt. And for me, I look towards teams like the Franco Brits. We look towards kind of the open quals, and they were unstoppable. Against teams who are now dropped out, who are, playing in the ALGS, they were unbelievably good, winning 3 out of 4 games, right? You look back to those results and, potentially question even how things haven't panned out as successfully for the Franco Brits in comparison to the likes of UTFT, who are a little bit under our radar. Murky as well, and another squad who have been putting up fairly decent, consistent results, being a little bit annoying. Chets have been great as well. Mythic stepping up. There's a lot of big names vying for the top, but I think it's safe to say that UTFT will get that first place finish unless things go royally wrong, right? And then it means we look towards kind of who's going to fill out the rest of that kind of top 5 to be in for the lion's share of that £5,000 prize pool. There's a lot on the line here, and of course for this region as well, it's great to see kind of representation on this sort of level.
Yeah, I think this is probably like one of... in fact, I'm not too sure how many regions have the Premiership like we do here, right? So it's always nice to see that we have some representation here now. And of course, looking through the highlights there, I guess we can now take a look at the greater scheme and look at those overall standings and how we fare up heading into our final day today. Of course, it'll say at the top here, semi-finals played A. That's because how we left off in the earlier week's action, right? UTFT, top of the pack. They are so clear of the Franco-British Union right now that there is no touching them. It is mathematically impossible at this point to stop UTFT taking that #1 spot. But ultimately, as we said, it's that fight for the middle of the pack. Second, third, and fourth, separated by a handful of points. It's still very doable here for Chets to push themselves up a couple of places.
Yeah, who's filling out top 3? Who's climbing their way in towards top 5? I mean, for Too Much Sauce as well, previously known as Dream Chasers, for them, I think even getting into top 5 is going to be very, very difficult. So I think, we've got kind of a battle on multiple different fronts, essentially, right? And when you just look at this overall standing, it's bonkers to see kind of how well UTFT have done. 15 wins. The second amount of wins after that is a joint 4 with Mythic and Franco-British Union. They have been largely just dominant from start to finish, day one, and they continue to be such a force to be reckoned with. But as you were kind of alluding to, right, who's going to creep in towards that top 2, top 3? Because even if you look towards second and third, I mean, Franco-British Union, while they're in second, it's not a comfortable second. Only 20 points behind as well. There's a world in which they can be pushed off and then, potentially losing out on what for them would be, a fairly decent chunk. I think I'm not exactly how much was second place, but, out of £5,000, probably a fair amount.
Yes, absolutely. And talking about how the ESL Premiership has kind of formed together, right? I think there's only one individual we can have maybe a little bit of a chat about. We can talk about our Prem VP, of course, for the last play day, and kind of cycle through that, right? I think there are a lot of players that we could have argued could have taken it, but it is Mythic, of course, our Prem VP for this outing. An individual that showed some excellence here. In a season that has been dominated by the UTFT side, I think we have seen some moments of brilliance from him.
Yeah, you know, Mythic, especially yesterday as well, they were looking fairly decent, right? I mean, they were at least competitive where UTFT was struggling. So, really good to see them, and hopefully we see a little bit more so they can solidify themselves into top 5. But, ladies and gents, we have a couple of VTs to bring you, and we can start off with the formation of the teams. Go and check this one out.
My name is Trevor FPS and I play for Too Much Sauce.
Hi, I'm Sunny and I play for Too Much Sauce.
Hi, I'm Miloshki and I'm playing for Too Much Sauce.
I'm Jason, our coach, playing for Chet's Esports.
My name's Jack Mack. I play for a team called UTFT.
Hello, my name's Brendan. I play for UTFT.
I've been playing with Miles or Miloshki together for about a year, and then we decided, hey, let's give comp a go.
You could say it was quite a long and winding path. I've played with Sunny for, as he said, about a year now. Around like 6 or 8 months ago, we sort of reached a level where we thought like, oh, we can try playing at like a higher level. And then just 2 weeks ago, we've come to the roster we're at now, and I'm really optimistic for the future.
I knew Nick was playing Apex at the minute, so I messaged him and I was just like, hey man, like, what's going on? And we were like, yeah, let's just give it a go and see what happens. And I think we've done quite well so far.
I'm actually the owner of UTFT. I started UTFT around a year ago. We picked up Nazedia, Tax, and Clonic. Initially, we hired Genji, and now Genji's become one of the main players of the team. Now we've parted ways with Tax, and I'm now filling for the rest of the Premiership.
Jack reached out to me about 2-3 weeks ago, asking me to play in this tourney because, of course, you have to have 2 UK players. I said, yeah, I'd come play with them. We just have great team chemistry. It's just been great to be around a bunch of guys that want to play and do the best that they can do as well.
We all get on, we're just having a laugh in the background kind of thing. I mean, we still want to do well, don't get me wrong. It's been a good atmosphere to play in, to be honest, as a first tournament.
We want to get to finals and ultimately to make Pro League and LAN. That's my aspirations. That's really where we want to be. That's where we believe we can be if we keep working.
Nice to hear the backstory for a couple of these teams, obviously, as well, those towards the higher end, and something that's quite factual throughout all of them, and at least the woven storyline between them all is everyone's here for a bit of fun, right? And that is that is obviously the most important part about competitive play. And I guess maybe about competitive play, and on that storyline we can have a little chat to them, maybe about the meta, right, and Apex Legends and how the meta's changing. Let's hear from them.
I don't like this narrative of what are the legends that need to be played. Play what you're good at, not what the meta is.
It's more about how the 3 players on a team complement each other and what roles they can be used and what legends can bring the most to the team in that regard, instead of this is a set role of what 3 legends have to be played and sticking a player into that role.
So I very naturally fit into playing Watson, who I think is probably the best defensive legend you can play right now. She has the most utility to counter a lot of the common legend picks at the moment.
The Watson is like probably one of the best defensive characters at the minute in competitive play. And then Sia is insane. His ability to, you know, if you put down an ult whilst you're in a fight, you know where they all are. You know, there's a lot of good characters. It's just whether they fit into, you know, the way that the team's playing. It doesn't really matter in Apex Legends too much, I think, if you play one character over another, because if you're working together as a team well, you can make anything work.
The main meta is Sia, Valk, Horizon, to which we have actually played that a few times. The meta at the minute is a bit boring, especially coming against, you know, the exact same teams over and over again. Some teams really try to change that up. You're running Fuse, running Maggie, Gibby sorta a little bit now as well.
We don't like playing Seer. He's too easy. We run our own legends as well. We like to flex.
UTFT like to flex, and well, I think it's safe to say this whole season they have been flexing on pretty much everybody. It's really been a one-team show, I think is the best way to put it. But an interesting story, as you mentioned, kind of behind UTFT, and you know, with the owner playing as well, a fellow Scousers. Good to see Jack there as well. I got a bit of bias, but you know, I can hear a bit of the accent. But to be honest, I mean, the signings that they have picked up going towards the season, bringing Genji in. I mean, Genji has been unstoppable as an individual. The entire rosters look brilliant, and you know, you can even see where they adapt on the fly in terms of their meta as well. So I think, you know, this is where you see UTFT going to rise above the pack, because they're always thinking the next steps ahead.
Yeah, and I think the last change, obviously, from yesterday and today's games at least, is we're going to have a split down the middle between the maps, right? We're no longer playing 4-on-1, we're 2-and-2. Let's have a listen into the players and see what they have to think.
I'm quite glad this tournament's been on World's Edge, because I think all the teams that are playing in the tournament have played World's Edge and they're best on World's Edge.
It's the classic comp map in Apex. You really see every team come into their own on World's Edge.
I've always enjoyed playing on World's Edge. There's kind of almost a nostalgia about it because it's been in the competitive pool for so long.
I mean, it's a completely different dynamic, World's Edge to Stormpoint, but World's Edge is always almost a lot more engaging. There's a lot more you have to think about when you're rotating in World's Edge, just because there's a lot more going on really in the map.
When Stormpoint first came in, UTFT, we learned really quickly to it, and we were like kind of dominating on it. It was our better map of the two. World's Edge had been there for a while. Stormpoint was new, and we just adapted quicker than everybody else. I think the casters have picked it up over the last few weeks. We drop. I forgot the name of the POI. Oh my god.
I like our comp drop spot. We land in Landslide. Because we play Crypto, it's so quick, our rotations.
Landslide has got to be one of them, because I've always been a big fan of playing that sort of fast rotate style.
I think it's a good introduction. It gives more of a range for the viewers to watch and get to learn more about comp. And some of the other teams that haven't competed on Stormpoint before, they get some practice on Stormpoint too.
We've not played competitively on Stormpoint yet, so you know it's going to be interesting. We don't have a clue how it's going to go, but yeah, we're excited to see what happens.
Interesting stuff. I think, you know, the standard meta and what we see within like an ALGS and more EMEA rather than kind of UK based is that they split down the middle, right? Normally the standard is kind of 6 games, play 3 on Stormpoint and 3 on World's Edge. So, you know, we're kind of accommodating what is a pretty standard thing. And for these players who want to step up into, you know, continue rising through the ranks, right? Tier 2, Tier 1, etc., you've got to be versatile. You've got to be able to play across all the competitive maps. And that's why I think, for me, it's a personal good thing, having another map in view, right? Having Stormpoint as part of the process, because teams need to learn. Like Chet said, right? We're yet to play a comp on it. Now's a good time to learn.
Yeah, and I guess, right, as you said, coming to the closing this season where the games maybe matter to some but not to others, perfect time to try new things out, right? Have a little look, see what's going on, what changes can you make. And I always say now, you know, across all games, right, it's so important, even if you're playing in these and you can't make the money today, this is as natural as it gets to a competitive environment. It doesn't matter what scrims and what practice you do in the background. It's nothing like to the feel of when you actually sit down and everyone's playing for money. That's like the driving factor, right? That's when you're going to see everyone's A game. So it's always going to be fun, especially in these last few days, to have that split and that diversity, as you said.
Yeah, spot on. I think as well, this being the grand finals, and we can kind of already see where there's a different couple of groups. Obviously, UTFT at the top. We don't really need to talk too much about them because they're going to be absolutely fine. I'm sure even if they went rock bottom, no kills, would be no problems. Yeah, he said mathematically impossible. So they're fine. But then when you look towards kind of second, third, fourth, fifth place, very close in terms of points. So there's going to be a competition amongst them. Do they then try and change up their play style, look at the drops of previous, you know, quote unquote weaker teams and try to use them for, you know, a couple extra kill points? Try and get them out of the way early doors so they can climb that ranks in terms of the leaderboard and get the points off the back of positions. There's all these conversations and metas that have to come through in towards today's action. And it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, on the final day here in the ESL Premiership Apex Legends of the UK and Ireland, we are heading into our first round here. This one should be spicy.
Will be exciting. 8 squads today. As I said, not yesterday, geez, time's flying. 2 days ago, I was saying, you know, now's your perfect opportunity. Just jump in, have a laugh. 8 squads. Shame we're not a little more filled up, but you know what? That's can't
future
hate
seasons, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Only season 1. We got plenty of hopefully, you know, years to come and seasons to come. One thing though, no, UTFT haven't gone away from this standard drop over towards Trials. They're very happy to just make it aware to everybody. That's what they drop. Mosh Kage will open things up.
Yeah, it's important, of course, as you said, early kills, early damage, early opportunities to score the points. Very, very low on that knock player as well. So they've got to be cautious here. And as you can see, the Franco Brits trying to get stuck in. Clone's got to be very, very cautious. He hasn't even broken the shield just yet. And he's dropped by Euro. Chasing him behind. JC will find 1. Looking for a second. And there we have it. Dropping 2. Got to make it 3. So close. But the Franco Brits are out.
Second place overall after yesterday's action is already out. That is a massive change-up. I think it's safe to say. Hang on a second, though. Resurrection's not coming through as easy as they would have hoped. The AC getting already a little bit uncomfortable. Euro falling. They're in a really tough spot. Merkios can be limited as well. That's another one of the top 5 teams down and out for the count within a matter of seconds.
And as you said, right, some big placing teams that aren't going to get access to as many placement points, no access to kill points for the rest of this game now. This leaves us with a lot of questions and you know, not a lot of time to give answers to just yet. Of course, these teams that are towards the bottom half of the pack that have found themselves deep into the games here today, extra placement points, and that really does shape up the middle of the pack, and especially when the fight is so small between places, right? Like it's really on between second and it feels like 6th, 7th at this point in their own sort of regional positions. I feel like there's 2 bands, right? You were talking about it, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th kind of race for 2nd place, and then everyone below is still kind of within an earshot of one another in making the mark. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting, 100%. As you said, now with some early exits, some pretty important teams, those that do have a chance of making that 2nd place run. This is where it gets interesting, because this is where we're going to see those smaller fish in the pond try and snap at the heels maybe of some of the bigger fish.
No, you're right. Absolutely. Crypto coming through here, using that drone's got a little bit more information. This really helps with rotations as well, and also helps them figure out kind of where those zones are going to end up and kind of where they need to rotate in for. And I think with how things are set up now for Too Much Sauce, they're in a pretty strong position. But quite quiet. I mean, this is the thing, right? With not too many teams in towards, like, you know, the final day, only 8 teams. There's going to be a little bit more space to work with, a little bit more time for rotations. Not as competitive in some of these hot drops, especially when you look up towards like Trials, for example, was a great one, or even this Epicenter, right? For these guys of Too Much Sauce, they're going to be given this for free with very, very little content. So it's be a little bit quiet. Spike drop coming through, slight upgrades. Go backpack, you're not going to say no.
I think now it's going to be... Go on.
I was just saying, I do wonder how things will change off the back of just even this first game alone, right? Because how tight things are in that top 3, 4, 5. With Murky and Franco Brits already dropping, and probably off the back of finishing 9th and 8th, or 8th and 7th, right? Because there's only 8 teams. So off the back of that, I mean, they're walking away with what? 3, 4 points? Yeah, 2 points. It's not exactly great. I don't think they even got a kill. Maybe just snuck away with 1. So not fantastic, right? And then that allows for kind of the other teams within that top 5, maybe even top 6 as well. We were a little bit away to actually make it competitive.
Close the
gap. Be in for a little bit more money, yeah.
Yes, indeed. I was going to say, I think this is going to be just like a very, very slow middle of the game here, right?
Yes.
Like, everyone's so far apart. Like, we're not even talking first ring movement just yet. Well, we are, obviously, but, you know, it hasn't actually reached the majority of the map. No one's going to be forced to move away just yet. And we are just going to be waiting for everything to get going. As you said, UTFT landing in the northwestern side of the map, obviously out by Trials. I think the lads towards the southern side of the map have got a little bit more of a distance to cover, but I think majority of the teams are going to make their way in quite nicely here. Probably won't take much damage to the ring and obviously get forced closer and closer together. Looking at the ring overall, though, I'm excited to see where this one lands. The Epicenter is still very well and truly in the ring right now. Maybe we get it going in towards the fragments. You know, some building cover. Always nice to see where that final ring ends up.
Yeah, it could even start pushing up towards that kind of northeast position, right? Looking over towards kind of climatizer. I mean, that even could be quite interesting. The cover there is quite limited as well, so it might change things. Of course, Mythic, there are Prem VP coming off the back of the semis, so we'll wait and see how things pan out for them. So we're going to be deployed. They're just holding, waiting, and seeing what they can deliver with for now. I mean, at the moment, right, there's going to be very little conflict until maybe we get into kind of round 2, potentially even round 3, because they don't need to anything too special. The smoke will allow for the Bloodhound to have a look in. As someone who used to be a Bloodhound main, it's something I know all too well about. They get a decent idea about where people are positioned up and where that zone is going to look to head.
Classic Bloodhound main.
Yeah, used to be. That was Seer main, but apparently, you know, the meta, when I started playing him, it wasn't as popular. I think a lot of people still prefer that Bloodhound, but it's good to see him coming towards meta more as well. I mean, I think UTFT put it very rightfully. He's too easy, and I think they're absolutely spot on. He's unbelievably strong. And another, you know, legend that is very strong is Watson, as we see here with Wabak. I mean, Watson has been so meta since they were introduced in towards the game because of how good they are in terms of just, you know, perimeter defense alone is unbelievably strong.
It did make me laugh in the videos, right? And he was like, and the UTFT lads were like, yeah, we just play what we want to play, you know? It's like, it's kind of easy, you know? We'll do what we want. Confidence, we like it. And this is what I'm on about, right? The ring's starting to close for our fifth. Just a few seconds, we'll find out where that second ring is heading. And hopefully if we see the map It'll be one that pushes us maybe towards the heart of the map. Would be a fun one to see. Already some players taking shots. Got to be careful here because indeed they do run into one another. And it's Cat Jam that are going to be caught with their pants down by the boys over at Too Much Sauce, and they won't even allow the idea of bringing 3 players back into the force here for Cat Jam. Rousey dropped, and a second man falling. It is looking very good right now. It's a third-party Mythic want to get their hands stuck in as well, and I don't blame them for it.
No, not at all. This is 3 kills. I mean, no offense to Cat Jam, but they've been slightly struggling, you know, throughout this entire season. They've been one of the teams who were very, very adamant on dropping and staying at Big Mord, and in rotation now, not really looking too great for them. It was a great little play there from the Valve. I mean, Sonny went for that aggressive angle, took a lot of that control, and caught Cat Jam on rotation. They had no idea where they've even been shot from before 2 were down. It was a brutal thing. And now what we see as well on the other side for Milo, she's just going to, you know, take a bit of conflict and then kind of rotate over through the Watson perimeter defense and mean that they really can't find him, drop him. He should be able to get away more or less very, very easy. Mythic, they're in a bit of a tough spot themselves. Zone to their back means that they're relatively safe. But in front of them, danger.
Yeah, I think at this point it's just about whittling down the utility, right? And whittling down the cells and the batteries and the med kits and what have you, right? Just get all of that gone. So in the later stages, forced to take fights. Maybe you don't have as much accessibility to heals. We'll see. I think, you know, it's still very early doors for that kind of stuff to take presence and to have an omen in the late game. It certainly seems to know at this point in time it's very important. What they're doing here is just firing off, using cells, diminishing the heals here, heading into those later stages. Still the best part of a minute here until that second ring moves in. As you can see, pressure is being applied, but it feels like it's all give and actually no bite here. It's just everyone taking their time, not making too many mistakes here, and want to survive as long as they can, because we know how integral those placement points are.
Exactly, and we are into the top 5 now. I mean, points are all up for grabs now. Here's where the real ball come through. Shots being taken here at the moment. I don't think Too Much Sauce needs to do anything too drastic. You need to be careful though. It's Mythic. You know, there are Prem VPs in the semis, and we know how strong they've been. They're one of the more consistent sides in a tournament that's sort of been played with inconsistencies outside of UTFT. I think a lot of teams who see moments of brilliance, but it's, you know, flash in the pan sort of scenarios. Mythic have looked, they're just always quite competitive, especially in the kill department as well. Only thing for them is, do they realize that a rotation is coming in, and UTFT want a little bit of that action. They're coming in from a westward angle, and that could be quite concerning for them. Speak of the Devils, and they shall arrive. Genji will post up. And once again, speaking of, you know, variations and compositions, look at their rocking. You got a Crypto coming through, and a Valk as well. Genji on a bit of an old school meta.
I like it, you know. Having fun, enjoying the game. Here we go. Are we actually going to chase the TMS boys here? I don't think they should be. They're going to get shots at. Yeah, I was going to say, it's just, again, just pressure trying to be applied. Some shots are being taken here, but ultimately they'll get out that one pretty unscathed. And the best part now, round 2 starting to close in 30 seconds. Hopefully the fights will amp up in just a few moments.
That's it. I mean, that's the kind of the right moves to be doing with the Valk, right? Just get out of there. There's no point trying to take conflict. I mean, they were stuck literally between a rock and a hard place. Had that mountain behind them, and of course, they had 2 teams rotating in as well from that kind of south position. They were in a really, really horrible spot, and with UTFT hot on their tails, I mean, they want anything to do with that. The question is now, what a Mythic do? They know UTFT is going to really catch them on rotation. That zone's going to start closing soon, and they're going to be in for a world of trouble. If UTFT just hold down the fort and hold down that perimeter, they're going to be in a brutal scenario with Mythic. They potentially could be next to full. Teddy taking a little bit of damage. Quite a lot, in fact. Armor, yeah. Gonzo. He's going to get out of there somehow. Just about getting out of dodge, but he's very, very tentative at the moment. Phoenix get popped.
Yeah, respect the idea. At least he's got the information, right? And he's kept his life intact. And pressure wasn't too much where they were actually forced their own hand. And, you know, things could have got really difficult had the pressure have been applied. And,
yes, yeah.
You know, switching out in util and what have you. Obviously, I think he went for the cells before the Phoenix kit. So, again, just a couple of seconds wasted, but it could have been a world of hurt had that gone the wrong way. Jets still 3 alive. Chilling right now. I think they're not a team that's renowned to have the most consistent of games. So seeing them through to top 5. Can they get a couple of kills? Can they, you know, put their name on the board in our finals day of the season? That's what they're looking to do here, and already a pretty decent start to that. Quiet, sure, not exactly finding them in the kill feed an awful lot, but it's one that they're not gonna hate.
No, not at all. We spoke about UTFT and what they can bring to the table. Going for a bit of a beating of the R301. Personal favourite. I'm going to find too much, though. This is a horrible scenario. They are being peppered, bombarded in towards that transitional period. This is getting a little bit dicey. Bit of damage being dealt, but UTFT, they're more than happy to hold this position. They know teams have to rotate either through them or away in towards what is going to be even more danger. UTFT got an unbelievably strong position right now, and well, as things stand, I think they're in one of the strongest positions to maybe go in towards that top 3 before taking even any kind of real fights. Mythic, I think they realized it was them and just got out of there as soon as. I think the Wraith would be really interesting too. I mean, that Wraith's pick up by Genji would allow UTFT to chase if they want to. The Crypto's very good for getting information, especially on rotations. We'll have to see. Bloodhound will pop. I'm going to look, see what they can find with a Q. But Dened in a horrible position. Somehow just about getting out of there, and a battle come online.
Indeed. Still 5 squads, 15 players. That hasn't changed. Pressure just amping up here. Yeah, the shots rattling off still. Everyone's having a good look in. R301, as you said, personal favourites. I think that's across the board. Both of us enjoy it. Personal favourite from mine as well.
Can't go wrong.
You can't. Feels like a very OP gun. I don't know. In the right hands, right attachments, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Feel pretty good with it. Ultimately, don't think stage players are going to be too keen on taking fights. Just let the circle do the work here. Let the ring close up even more so. I mean, surprised there's even loot to go around at this point in time this late into the game, but some loot happening all in all. Just about the informational game, and you can see Nen's playing.
Yeah, that's it already. Little bit of spray coming through on towards the drone. There's, I mean, he gets a little bit, but not exactly going to be a dream for them. Where things are right now, it still goes like I was saying. UTFT strong position, but Mythic, they've got all that information. It's just what they can do with it. Decent damage. Dennis just going to tuck his head away. Phoenix get back up. Potentially even tempted as well. Is going to send Teddy and the mains in for a rotation, try and catch him on towards that bridge, but it's very difficult to get that position, especially with that perimeter defense set up by the Watson.
Shooting the camera. Right now, very quiet. Obviously, Chet's on screen here, as you can see. Taking their time, trying to piece up fights well. I think at this point, they're just communicating to one another. Rotates. Spot out the players. Maybe not so much in terms of taking the shots. They just want to basically know exactly where everyone's at, right? Keep a keen eye on as many players as possible. And from there, really, you're going to be forcing the hand later on because you're going to have positional advantage and you're going to have that informational lead. You can see Pred to the west don't quite know how many eyes are looking at them right now. And although, yeah, you can see the answer is a couple. I don't think, oh no, there's players very, very far away. Also keeping a keen eye on them. That was very close. Very, very close for players. Moving now want to apply that pressure as best as they can, and they are going to try and close the gap before even taking these fights. Firing away right now. Smoke's going to be used by the Bangalore as he tries to attempt to get further in. And well, one player cracked, but he's dropped himself here, Teddy.
This is rough. This is really rough. Mythic in a tough spot now. Granted, still, Nemain's getting a little bit of that information as best he can. The Allfather, very strong, but already people starting to drop like flies. Pred to the west, down to 2. They're going to get out of dodge just about with the zone hot on his tail. This is a horrible scenario for Pred to the west. Potentially, they could be down to 1 in a matter of moments.
Done.
Kieran Uzi in that corner. Getting out of there is going to be a brutal one. Yeah, and they're done. Pred to the west eliminated, 4 squads remaining. And still posted up in towards the house here. UTFT trying to take a couple of boxes as best they can. The Valk going for the elevated angle. Decent one for them. But that Watson perimeter defense, once again, like we said, it's so difficult. They've just got to hope that the zone can force them into conflict.
I mean, that ring is so tight now. It's going to be so packed. You can see positional yet again from UTFT. You were talking about it yourself now, saying, you know, look at where they are. they're going to be untouchable. No one's going to have a say in sort of pushing them off this position until top 3, top 2, where they actually have to get their hands dirty themselves. They're doing exactly that, right? They've got height, they've got all the vision in the world. I don't think there's any way they get knocked off of it immediately either. Pretty safe hands right now for them, but for everyone else, made it to the top 4. Good start. Let's see if there's any more.
A bit of a couple of pop shots coming through, but Wamak will just continue to set up that perimeter defense. That place is stacked. You don't want to be heading in there. Couple of volts flowing through for sure. UTFT elevated angle. Nez taking a little bit more of that engagement for him. Gold armor, of course, allows him to be a little bit more proactive, a bit more aggressive in this stance. Still, things are set up. Not exactly a dream scenario for any of their teams rotating in. And a bit of damage dealt there as well for Jack. So, even still, UTFT, I think they need to be careful though. You know, if any team's rocking something like a sniper, right? I mean, a Kraber gets dropped. I mean, that'll be an awful situation for them. They can get picked off very, very comfortably. So, for now, they need to be cautious. Beam coming through. And the Jets, they're rotating in. And what can they do? Taking an initial dink coming in. Looking for more of a fight as well as Coach taking an aggression on Arcstar as well to force him out of that angle.
Certainly the case. Chet's going to try and apply the pressure as best as they can. Coach trying to get involved, trying to get stuck in, firing off. Of course, but dropped. Sunny finding some damage. Coach removed at least. It's safe to say too much source are eliminated. And in fact, somehow, despite Coach going down, Chets are alive. It is, of course, 3 squads left. 9 players. Coach is back. They're livid. Yes, so
he got away.
Premiership only just spicing up here in round 1 of their play day 9.
How they managed to make that work, right? Especially when Coach falls, the Master takes a pop shot, gets some serious damage, doesn't clear the close set angle, and that's a deep angle as well. So you're thinking, surely they're dead in the water. I mean, surrounded by that Watson util, but it's a B. Missile Swarm coming through as well, just trying to force that engagement here for UTFT, and hoping that Wingman can take a couple of pop shots at range. I was going to do it, it would be Genji. Damage dealt. Can be battered back up, so not exactly end of the world. Final round now into this final zone. 3 squads remain. UTFT still holding that high ground, looking for that advantage as best they can. Jack taking initial engagement here. Oh no, this is going to get dicey.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where the height is such an issue. UTFT is not going to get knocked off. The Scout's doing so much damage right now. Finesse, although, yeah, caught in a little bit of an entanglement himself. The teammate's going to heal up, and this is just looking so good right now, isn't it? Here you can see short information. Jack won't care. UTFT hungry for these kills, hungry for those points.
Going aggro, getting the close angle. Getting out of dodge though, just about. He is very fortunate to stay alive. That's safe to say. Still in the mains. I mean, they get pelted by Arcstars. I mean, they're just tucked into that corner as best they can. Jack coming in for the flank as well. It's so isolated for Jack. I mean, it's very easy that he could be traded, but no, he'll get away. Detected by the sonar. Bloodhound will force him away. And, well, I guess, you know, with Mythic's done right now, of course, after losing Teddy, and they're just being forced by super passive. And I think, obviously, as well for Mythic, they're just hoping that UTFT take an engager and they can third party as best they can. But for Jets, they don't need to. Zone against their back. And with things how they are at the moment, the Missile Swarm might force a bit of an engagement, but nothing to be too worried about.
Everyone's chilling right now. Don't think they're too keen on taking that fight, as you said. Probably just want to wait it out and see if they can third party anything. That'll go for all 3 teams at this moment. Unfortunately, they're going to have to get a move on. Teddy removed off of the side of Mythic, so being down to 2 isn't ideal. And is applying some pressure here to the team out to his east. Trying to lay down the hate as best he can, but UTFT's position, I mean, it is so ridiculous right now that no one's going to be able to knock them off this high ground. Great shots coming out from there. Obviously, they're at 2, but they're looking to try and make up for it. And Jack's dropped Nick Bob. 2 players left alive for Chet's now as well. And well, there you go, just disintegrated. UTFT hungry for more, hungry for chances. And well, they are going to be given half of one here. And the fight being brought to them, but the HP bars, they've not been touched one bit here, UTFT.
We're waiting as well to see what Genji's going to do with that Wraith. Looking to hopefully teleport one of them through. It actually come back to bite him. Is it getting dicey? Jack low on HP. Does not matter. Is it to anybody's surprise that UTFT
Oh no, anxiety creeps up on me. Is this how it's supposed to feel? Tell me when it's over. I got someplace that I gotta be. It won't leave. My friends say, get out of your comfort zone. It's a blessing in disguise. Get out of what you call home. Your name is written in the sky. It might feel just like you're on your own, but baby, it's another lie. Remember, you were made. I try to work, but it doesn't work. I try to say something, but there's no word. I try to justify my actions, less reactions, heartbeat raising. Oh, it doesn't work. The doctor says take some pills, but this is not how it's supposed to feel. Upside down and in and out, I guess I have to take a break. Get out of your comfort zone, it's a blessing in disguise. Get out of what you call home, your name is written in the sky. It might feel just like you're on your own, but baby, it's another lie. Remember, you were made. I try to work, but it doesn't work. I try to say something, but there's no word. I try to justify my actions, less reactions, heart raising. Oh, it doesn't work. I try to work.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Premiership powered by Intel. Was it ever in doubt that UTFT were going to walk away with victory? I don't think it was. From the start of round number 1, they looked comfortable. But I think what is safe to say, with the early exits of, well, second place Franco Brits and third place Murky, will that have a shake-up to the table? I mean, we can take a little look in a moment, but for round number 1, Retro, pretty decent stuff, very quick action.
I gotta say, you gotta give props to everyone in UTFT, specifically whoever called the shots, right? I mean, I don't personally, I'm too clued up about that kind of thing. Maybe it was more of a team call, but it was the fact that they stood on the high ground the entire game, and they took what would have been a massive gamble, right? Because had that high ground not been in the ring, they'd have been forced down, everyone would be looking at them. Instead, they play it, they hold it, and it literally gives them the win on a silver platter. Really well played from UTFT. Ultimately, though, again, I've got to give props to Chets, right? For a team that's had a pretty average season, they've done very well in this first game.
Yeah, and you know, I think Chets are one of the bigger quote-unquote names coming into the season, but you're spot on, right? It's been average from them. I think we've seen them struggle at times and really not be as competitive, I think, as they would have wanted to have hoped. But for them to be sneaking into the third place, 12 points on the board, they'll be very happy with. Mythic, of course, in second with 15. And is ever in doubt, UTFT, they know how to play things. Play for the positions because it gives you the most points. They only got 1 kill, but hey-ho, they are more than happy to be walking away with 17 points under their belt. Now, for me, I think this might have a little bit of a shake-up, as we already mentioned, of course, with the Franco Brits dropping out relatively early. Murky as well, they dropped out early, but of course did get some kills. So for them, potentially that'll give them a little bit of a boost. But, you know, 2 of the bigger names who were inside of that top 5 dropping early doors. That might have a little bit of a shake-up, and it does actually allow Mythic and Chets to get within reaching distance now.
Chet's now pushing further and further up, right? Like, they are a very, very close distance to Murky, to making it top 3. Mythic have fallen slightly behind here. Obviously, the bracket, as I said, from 6th and below is different to kind of 5 up. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see. Of course, Franco, British Union, Murky, the teams that took the early exits, have really closed the gap here to a 4th place of Chet's. And that's going to leave us with a lot of questions, right? Heading into the final few games of today. Can UTFT be closed up upon? The answer is no. But for the remaining spots, you know, to get your silver or your bronze medal, that's exactly what you're looking for. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for these next 3 games.
Yeah, exactly that. I think, you know, Franco Brits, you know, they might have to be a little bit cautious. If they have consistent performances the way they just end, where the points are extremely limited, all it takes is, you know, 1 or 2 of these games to go in favor of, you know, for example, like a Chet, who can potentially even sort of climb into that top 3, or, you know, maybe a Murky to displace them in towards a 2nd place, right? I mean, all it takes is one upset, and this is where, when we came in towards this season, we spoke about one thing and one thing only. Consistency is key, and that is the case, and it always will be the case with Apex. On a points-based system like this, consistent top positions will give you the bulk of your points, which is what makes UTFT so damn strong. And I think Franco Brits, bit of a wake-up call.
Yes, absolutely. Ladies and gents, I do believe we're going to head to a break. When we are back, it's all about round 2.
Right. Hello, welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen. We're just getting ready to get underway into round number 2 here, and before we do, we can have a little discussion. Of course, what we've seen already, UTFT never in doubt, as we mentioned. I think this starting to become a little bit more competitive in towards our top 3. You mentioned there was kind of a few different gaps, right? Number 1 of UTFT, don't really need to enter the conversation. Mathematically impossible that anybody even gets close to them. But then around that, I think 2 and 3, extremely close. Franco Brits, while they're in second place, they're only just holding on to it. And all it takes is kind of one really strong game, and that crumbles away. So potentially we could already see changes in kind of who gets, larger portions of that lion's share of £5,000.
Yes, I'm pretty excited to see. Obviously, UTFT's reign of terror has not stopped, it feels like, throughout the entirety of this event. Yeah, they've been on an absolute tear so far, Nao, and I don't think there's any stopping that in any regard. Maybe we can bring up the overall standings if we can, and have maybe a little bit more of a chat about how that one breaks down, right? Because I think while we do our best, right, I think we can talk about some rosters in the middle of the pack, right? And we can maybe go into a little bit more of a discussion about the turn of events out of round 1, which has kind of had the collateral for the rest of today. And I think the most valuable story to tell right now, of course, UTFT topping the pack, no dispute in that. But it's the fact that Chet's are now, a couple of walking steps away from maybe being able to close in on 3rd place, which is, a couple £100 difference.
Yeah, exactly that. And even still on the other side as well, Mythic aren't too far behind Chet. I mean, that entire top 5 is within, a couple of games. Like 20 points is a doable affair. Granted, I think it's a lot easier, if we had all 19 teams, a lot more kill points would start to flourish through. And we saw teams do very, very well off the back of kill points. I think Murky's one of the best examples. If you go back to kind of the VODs of the earlier weeks, they were fantastic in terms of the kills, but I think their inconsistencies came in actually when it came to them finishing in towards that, top place position, or sometimes even a top 3 as well, because they were so aggressive. That could come back to bite them in the occasional time. But with what is it, 8 teams playing in towards today's action, right? For the teams looking for kill rewards, it's not exactly that easy. So it means that priority, as it should be, should go towards where you finish in the overall standings, where you finish, in the standings at the end of the day and end of the round. So for Franco Brits, Murky, I think they shouldn't be too nervous, but as long as they've got to keep it consistent, and probably, a little bit better than what we saw then, where they finished 7th and 8th. So, not exactly great for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, I think another thing that we can maybe have a chat about through this season is the legend picks, right? And maybe we can have a look at the breakdown of that and discuss sort of the top to bottom half. I was having a chat with Sam yesterday. I was saying I'm surprised. I feel like in every day, in the first day here of ESL Prem, I saw lifelines left, right, and centre, but they're in the bottom half. Valkyrie, the top pick of this season here in the Apex Legends Premiership. Obviously, Seer and Horizon quite close to one another. Those are the typical 3 that we see. Watson's obviously up there as well. You were talking about how important Watson is, and maybe, as you said, switching out to a crypto. I don't think there's any sort of disruption to this top 5. I don't think there's any disrepute to it.
Yeah, I think the only champion that I can see here, or the only legend I can see that is even, a remote question mark is Mirage, because he's garbage. So the fact that that's been picked in is actually quite funny. But, Bloodhound, for example, was meta for kind of the first, 10 seasons, essentially. But with Seer coming in, Seer's just a slightly stronger Bloodhound and a little bit more versatile, which is why at the moment, as we saw as well in the videos earlier from the teams, Seer is a little bit of a better pick, and as UTFT quite rightfully put, a bit easy, right? Because Seer gets all the information, especially that ultimate is unbelievable. Valk is a fantastic pick, and I think as well, what's made Valk so high in the pick percentage is the map we play on, World's Edge. I mean, it's so easy for Valk to rotate off the back of her ultimate, and it makes such a viable pick coming through. So I think that won't really change in towards these last few games. That Skyward Dive is just brilliant. I mean, we already saw it a couple of times about Murky, for example, when UTFT were pushing down on them in that round, they just Skyward Dived out of it, right? They got completely out of dodge, got nothing to do with it, used that ult, and were able to set themselves up. And of course, which ended up being a top, well, not Murky, but yeah, it ended up being a top 3 position, in fact. And Chets, were forced to kind of have a really awkward rotation. So yeah, how things stand. I mean, interesting as well, Wraith not being picked in, but Genji fancying Wraith. So not exactly in the top 5, but Genji kind of flexing a little bit. I mean, it was an old school pick. Used to be so standard in the first 5 seasons without a shadow of a doubt. Most teams would kind of go for that. Potentially even like a Loba or a Jibby as well. So things have changed. I think Crypto's very strong now. We saw it used really, really well, in fact, in towards that previous game. And I'm interested to see how teams adapt their comp now, going into what's next.
Ladies and gents, we are running into a few tech issues. I do believe we're transitioning. You know, there's some stuff going on in the background. I'm no
Yes,
tech
yeah.
wizard now, so I'm probably not the best
I
to
sort
inform
of
you
know
about
what's
it.
going on. It's,
Yeah, I think it's like the transition between companies, right? It's like going
It
on, and
is.
so it's like, you know, listen, it's tech issues. We are going to go to a bit of a break. I think it's going to be 5-10 minutes ish when we're back. Hopefully, we'll have game 2 ready. If not, it might be slightly longer. But stick with us. We'll be back with the ESL Prem.
Oh no, anxiety creeps up on me. Is this how it's supposed to feel? Tell me when it's over. I got someplace that I gotta be. It won't leave. My friends say, get out of your comfort zone. It's a blessing in disguise. Get out of what you call home. Your name is written in the sky. It might feel just like you're on your own, but baby, it's another lie. Remember, you were made. I try to work, but it doesn't work. I try to say something, but there's a word. I try to justify my actions, less reactions, heartbeat raising. Oh, it doesn't work. The doctor
Hello and welcome back, you wonderful people, to TSL Premiership Apex Legends powered by Intel. Now, of course, we had some server issues and it's worldwide server outages. I think at the moment they're transferring from Origin to Steam or whatnot, and you know, everything just imploded, right? Worldwide, Apex Legends servers just decided, nah, mate, I'm all right. I'm all good today. So, the good news is, though, we think we're back. Players are joining the server. They're getting in the lobby. We're getting ready. Round number 2 should be underway momentarily, hopefully. And it's a question of how do things carry on. Now, we were building a bunch of narratives along the way. But one thing to mention, I don't think it's quite fixed yet. That leaderboard at the end that we had built up with the kills and the positions, just forget about it. It was wrong. Numbers all over the shop. We're all over the shop. But forget about it. What you do know, though, is UTFT won it. No doubts in our minds. They've been dominant.
Yeah, I don't think it would change kind of the position that they're in, right? I think they're like and truly above the rest. Like, you know, they can put their legs up. They could just, you know, take a break, maybe grab a drink, you know, enjoy it a little bit. They're fine. I don't think they're going to. But for the rest of the pack, right, I think this is where it gets interesting because we don't quite know how it looks overall. In terms of, like, you know, who's second, who's third, who's fourth, who's fifth, you know, and that conversation that we had on how close it is, I don't think that would have changed in any way. Maybe some of the positions have, maybe some of the gaps between the places have, but it hasn't taken away, and you know, there's no distraction from the fact that there is still very much a chase on heading into our last 3 rounds. And for our final few moments of today, it'll be a nail-biter to see who actually is second, who is third, who is fourth, you know, and that chase is definitely going to be on, one that we're going to keep a keen eye on. Hopefully, as you said, we're back into the game in just a few moments from now. You know, we'll be scraping the bottom of the barrel otherwise with things to chat about. You know, we'll have to talk about our day. Obviously, I saw you went to the gym earlier, right? So
I did, mate. Yeah, I got one in my
pumping iron.
So yeah, did a bit of leg day, a bit of squats. My legs are feeling rough right now. And the worst part is when you sit down after doing like a leg day, they just die. So that's what I'm feeling now. Losing a lot of faith in the legs, but not in the game, ladies and gentlemen. We're back on the way. Round number 2 about to get started, and of course, it's our final time. We get to have a look at our World's Edge. We say goodbye after this round.
You got any tissues? Drink it in.
Yeah, a couple
wipe
of
the
cries.
tears. Yeah.
Final time. Nostalgic, as they said. But what is also nostalgic is UTFT going towards Trials. Who would have thunk it? Every single time they have gone towards Trials.
Just splitting. Is that Nez at Skyhook, Jack landing at Countdown, Genji landing at Trials? They've
got 3 of the best loot places, by the way, just to themselves. Skyhook, Trials, and Countdown, all for free. I mean, that's bonkers when you think about it. I mean, I can understand other teams, right? Because who wants to test UTFT? No one, right? Of course. It's not worth it. But it's crazy. They are so dominant that people are scared of going anywhere north, west, right? They don't even want to touch it.
It's like a perimeter put up around the UTFT landing place. You must not be within one landing zone of, like, one place on the map. It was like gridded out, you know. It's like you must not touch from A1 to B4 or D4, I should say. I think, you know, for the most part, was looking at the map there. Don't think there's any movement in terms of teams getting closer together. I don't think anyone landed on one another. It's genuinely just going to be looting sim for the next few minutes and then get into the action. Probably ring 2, ring 3 when players are forced a little closer together.
I think with how things are at the moment, we don't really need to take a look into too much. We can have a little pan around, a little fly about, and see how things pan out. Exactly that. Having a little look over towards Prince of the West over by Big Mord. Now, this was a very, very common place. I mean, Big Mord, generally speaking, was super popular for, you know, teams like Cat Jam. I mean, they were one of the ones from the early doors who were making it kind of their own. I mean, for Prince of the West, looks like they've been given all of this control for free for now. And yeah, things are pretty quiet. I mean, to be honest, we don't really need to be too excitable at the moment. Too on edge. We've only 8 squads, right? I mean, it's the likelihood of conflict and fights early doors is pretty minimal. So, and that is going to be the case probably until we get in towards more or less maybe round 2, round 3. I mean, we're going to see very, very little fights coming through. That ring that was already starting to be roughly shown, it was looking like potentially we could be making our way back over once again into towards that sort of northeast position, maybe in the kind of the rougher vicinity of epicenter. But Have to wait and see how things pan out. Charge rifle, too much sauce. Having a little looky.
Sonny, as you said, with the old charge rifle, giving it a go, giving it some beans. I do enjoy it. It's one of the words I picked up recently, giving it full beans.
Giving it full beans.
Yeah, it just means like full throttle, you
Just
know?
go, yeah, full wag. I wonder why beans, though.
I took it from Valtteri Bottas.
Right.
I think he was like, when I was watching a YouTube video on like F1,
Yeah.
and they were like showing how the wheel works, because obviously like their wheel in F1 is like filled with buttons. He's like, yeah, we have a mode that sets it to full beans, and I thought that's like such a cool
good.
like,
Yeah.
it's not even an idiom, but it's like a cool little saying that you can use. It's like, yeah, full beans, like give it some. But there you go, full beans, mate, cracked. Maybe I'll have you saying something to do with beans, not Heinz though. I mean, like, you know, I feel like it works in many ways as well. You know, full beans, giving it some beans, like giving it everything. Maybe I'm an innovator to the English dictionary. Call me Shakespeare.
Yeah. Other brands of beans are available, however.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes,
Charge
true.
Rifle is taking a
Beans
pot shot.
included.
Exactly. We love all beans, right? Anyway, back to the action. Mastiff having a little poke in. Making the presence under too much sauce. Trying to take an initial point of contact. Needs to fall away. That G7 at close range might become a little bit of a liability. Speaking of one that is, that car as well letting him down. Miss spray laboured. Low on HP as well as player. The last of the remaining alive for Catjam. A side who have struggled here in ESL Apex Legends Premiership. Looking to try and bring themselves back online. And with the Newcastle, they might be able to do exactly that. Rez will come through. And Norman's picked up.
Not bad. I think he's using the old shield bat. Dropping one of the players of the opposition who is down very, very low. And as you can see with the Newcastle, as you said, bringing players back to life, using them as the meat shield, but more integrally, putting them back into cover. Very important to note, of course. Heals up himself. Actually, too much sauce in a position they can't really afford to bear to witness here, right? Moshi taken down, Sunny knocked. Wawak wants nothing to do with it here, just wants to dip away and, you know, make sure he keeps himself alive just for team placement's sake. It's a pretty good engagement there for Catcher.
Yeah, that's it. 8 squads still remain. It's nice and quiet right now. Of course, as you can see, 22 players. Only one alive over to Too Much Sauce. They are in a bit of a predicament. Banners collected, but getting them back in play going to be a different story right now. Take a look over towards Preds of the West. We checked them a little bit earlier when they're over towards Big Moor, and now they're rotating in towards the edge of the ring. Had a little looky in. It's still very quiet. And I think this is sort of, you know, the other side of having only 8 teams. You know, 8 teams, you're great because you're guaranteed points. You love to see it. But the only other side is that, you know, it is very quiet for the first... You'd probably would start 10 minutes, right? First kind of 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
There's very few fights. Even when there is fights, there's not that often you're going to see squad wipes, as we have seen as well with, you know, one remaining alive and the banners collected.
Very, very slow. As you'd expect. Been very, very chill as of right now, Mythic. Close they are to the opposition. Clearly they've seen something that I haven't. Either I'm blind or they've just been way too cautious. On the looks of things. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Fair assessment. Having a good look off to the right. Spotting out a few players. I think it's Preds from the West.
Well, smoke down. Lee just trying to set a bit of a present here. Question is, how's he going to play it himself? I mean, he's got that heartbeat, so looking to try and spot out something. Nothing to be gained from it. And just going to double back, so I say. A little bit of damage being dealt. Both ways as well. Blade just about keeping a little bit of shields with him when the battle come out online to keep those blues alive and ticking, or so I say. Burrito, other ideas. Blade will fall. And now they're down to 2. And they're swinging in. I mean, Murky want to make this work in their favor. They want those kill points, and we said how aggressive they can be.
Want to get stuck in here. Thought maybe it was going to be a little while longer until the action started to kick off, but certainly not the case. And a decent look in. Oh my word, the damage from Marito could have been a massacre. Murky trying to play smart, unfortunately, in the mains. Very, very close. Probably too close for comfort here. As the Mythic boys try and get on in, Den is actually dropped, so maybe that's going to be a bit of a focus to them here. trying to get away here, Teddy. Bangalore double time, going to try and escape it, and I think just about so, but at the cost of a teammate.
Already, the Mythic facing a little bit of a problem here. Banner still needs to be collected as well, but I don't think they're even going to go for it. Potentially not. I mean, it's in a bit of no man's land. It's been very difficult to collect. Go back over towards Chet's, finished third in towards our previous game. Question of how they do in towards round number 2. Have to wait and see the answer to that. 7 squads getting in there for the points, but as you mentioned, consistency is key. They can't be falling out early doors.
Certainly the case, and everyone having a good look in. Charge rifle. Sometimes it hits you for everything, sometimes it hits you for nothing. That is life. This time around for Moggs, I think he did 6 damage. That was it. Just the 6.
A little love tap. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing more. Nothing
Just
less.
letting him know. Letting him know.
Exactly. Just
Like
making sure he's aware. I like to see it. For now, with 7 squads remaining, players starting to dwindle. And just that 40 seconds on that clock until we head in towards that next round. That zone is making its way towards Epicenter, sort of how we were kind of early doors predicting. But for now, I mean, no real contact needs to be taken. I mean, of course, the only thing, Maloshki, I mean, without him in play, for too much sources might be a little bit of a problem. No crypto, information is going to be tough, rotation is going to be a little bit more difficult as well. And 2 remaining alive, they even might just play the long game. Once again, kind of as we saw in towards that previous round, just playing for third parties, right? Hoping that the 2 versus 3 can work in their favor just off the back of low HP. It's going to be difficult, but same conversation has to be said over towards Mythic.
Yeah, respawn timed out on Dennis, right? And so now they're stuck at 2. No improvements upon that. Not a bad thing sometimes, you know, you just got to get out with your life intact, and that's probably the priority for them, right? Over everything else is just making sure we keep 2 alive, making sure, you know, we have presence in the late game, because we know the majority of our points come from placements, right? We can have a little look at the map. See that second circle, excuse me, flows into a third as well. We see that highlighted. The epicenter is going to be the main attraction for the final few rings. That'll be pretty interesting to see. As you can see, ultimately UTFT making it way through Skyhook. Climatizer occupied by Kiranuzi. The rest of the squads, I think, coming in from the right-hand side here could, or sorry, from the left-hand side here, could be very, very tricky. I think they're going to walk into one another very soon.
And you're right. I mean, UTFT, been given a lot of space. Clone definitely wants to keep an eye on the Frenchman. Another way and see what he can bring to the table. One of the bigger names coming in towards this season. Someone we wanted to kind of keep an eye on, of course, for the Franco-Brits. Kiranuzi's in a really rough spot, right? I think for him, it's about hugging that zone all the way, and they want nothing to do with any sort of conflict, nothing to do with any fights. If they can play for positions, potentially in for a little bit more of an inkling in towards that cash. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. We mentioned it's close, especially towards the top. As we head in towards round number 3, that zone still making its way down on towards epicenter. It's seeming as the Franco bits rotating, and Clone needs a shield back. Taking a bit of damage, and a couple of taps coming through off the back of the G7.
Here we are. At least something's going on, right? I think we're at least getting somewhere in the server. It took a long time, you know, from the initial outburst of fights. Now it took us, you know, a long while to see some action. I guess we're starting to see some of it here, and it's amping up a bit. Here we go. Bit of movement from UTFT. Probably want to get stuck into the action a little bit more.
Yeah, just go for a dive here as well, see what they can spot. And of course, the added benefit, get a lot of information about where other teams are set up, and of course where they're going to have a little bit of an advantage. Hugging the edge of the zone as well. So we'll drop some missile swarm coming through. Want to just be a nuisance. We saw UTFT do exactly this in towards round number 1, and it guaranteed them a victory. Looking for more of the same, and that's what we look towards as well. Individual like Genji to step up. I mean, he was a nuisance and so consistent over towards that first. Jack was always just touching base every now and again with teams around him, just making sure he had that information on deck. And of course, where for Jack will, you know, test the waters, Genji will go for the fight off the back of the Wraith. Ultimately set it online, so they can get ever closer to yet another Skyward dive.
Gotta respect it. It's a pretty fun one. Obviously, massive implications for the middle of the pack. We'd already talked about that a little bit before, right? And saying how important it is for these players. Getting second to fifth, the gap, what feels like a few tens of points, makes a massive difference in placement, in prize money, and obviously for bragging rights as well, being one of the only UK-only events, right? UK and Ireland-only events. It's a real chance to give yourself that staple, right? And give yourself that branding that you are amongst the top teams here in the UK that competed here in the first season of the ESL Prem for Apex. So, yeah, 100% looking into it. Something I've completely overlooked, by the way. Chets have got a Kraber out. There is a Kraber in the hands of Nick Bod. Are we going to see some of those juicy headshots coming out, or is it going to be when I use it and it's like good for absolutely nothing and I absolutely suck with it, you know?
I mean, those body shots are deadly with that Kraber. Only 4 bullets to work with, but I mean, if anyone's going to do it, you'd expect Nick to be able to pull off just a little bit of magic. Yeah. Well, spotted out by the crypto drone, right? That surveillance drone came through, knows their position towards Epi, and that might make things quite difficult. Speaking of quite difficult, Franco Brits, they're in a really strong setup. And look at the sort of gear they have to rock with. Both AJ and Clone, gold armor. JC not looking too shabby himself. And a very decent setup with that G7 Havoc combo. Yeah, if he's down and the high ground as well. And I'm right, and say Pred to the West just got eliminated. So already down to 6. We're coming into what seems like the start of the final few moments here in round number 2. And of course, the final time on World's Edge.
Yeah, this should be the one that kind of, you know, gets it all out, right? It's like the rabbit out of the hat kind of scenario. Once one gunfight happens, everyone wants the third party. And then obviously if everyone wants the third party, there's just going to be more external fights, and it's definitely going to get rougher around the edges. Nice to see some teams having a little bit more discipline. Those that are lower down, right? Cat Jam want to play the long game. They're just going to be set up amidst the defense here. Just chilling, having a look. The wingman, at least in the hands of Radzi, looking to pull off some shenanigans. Could not be more annoying those noises, though, could they? It is
keeps you safe, though, and I guess that's the main thing for them.
Sacrifice like a year's worth of hearing for, you know,
safety and security.
A couple of extra spots in Apex, you know.
Exactly.
That's a real gamer trade. That is.
Well, either way, I think they're more than happy to say. I mean, Cat Jam, it's kind of like I said earlier, not really in an offensive way, but they've slightly struggled at times this side, right? They've been, you know, dropped early doors, and they've had some really tough engagements in some of their fights. I mean, we saw, as we were mentioning, Cat Jam and Preds to the West, for the entirety of the season, those two have both dropped big more. And, you know, it's been 50-50 about who's taking it, but, I mean, that would be, you know, the blanket view, the on-paper view. But to be perfectly honest, it was Preds to the West who looked slightly more dominant in that fashion. A couple of tabs coming through, actually. Not too bad aim there from Teddy. But yeah, for Cat Jam already to be with the potential of going into his top 5, they're not going to complain too much. JC, no armor. He needs to get a shield bar on the line. A couple of taps off his zone. Just trying to make a nuisance. AJ all drop.
Was that the Kraber?
It was.
We were talking about it.
Cracking
Nick
shot.
Bod blasts him straight down. And look at this. They know Chets. They want to apply the pressure. They know if there has been the res, if the player's still on his feet, then they know he's going to be quite close on death. And if they're going to be caught with their pants down, then it's the perfect opportunity to try and exploit. There's your first frag. There's a second man that's low. Surely there's going to be a drop here as Nick Bod gets JC. There's your second. I do believe indeed Moggs does find it now. They're going to hunt for the third and final. It's kills for Chets. It's placements for Chets. It is all things Chets right now. Franco Brits eliminated.
That's huge. Franco Brits falling. That'll change the scope and the landscape. AJ was on death's door for such a long time in that engagement. When finally falling, that seemed like the final nail in the coffin for them. Franco Brits back to back. Pretty poor performances in towards the opening 2 on World's Edge. Things could get a little bit dicey for them. They're second place overall, but that might not be the tale at the end of today. We're set up here once again. We'll take a look over towards Too Much Swords. They are getting peppered through that building. It's a horrible scenario for them to be in, but they can't really even rotate out. The second they show their face, they're going to get beamed.
Got to be very cautious. Wamak didn't listen to you, mate. He did not listen. Stick your neck out a bit too far. It won't treat you nicely, and it'll be quite a painful experience. 5 squads left. 11 players on the server, by the way. Mathematically speaking, each squad has about 2 players left, right? 2.2. Great shot coming out from the Peacekeeper. There's dropping the last man from Chets. That's Nick Bod eliminated. So 4 squads, 10 players. Still, we're in a position where half the squads are only going to have two players or so left, right? It's scary times. Statistically, if you've got 3 players alive, like UTFT, you're in a position that is indescribable in this current setting. You are ahead of the curve massively.
You're spot on. Genji trying to be a nuisance. Wraith and now. We haven't seen Wraith too often in towards this season. Couple of options. Back-to-back wingman. Alright. I like it. It's Rogue. But
fun.
If anyone's going to do it, it would be Genji. I mean, he's the one who likes to take those fights. For now, they're setting aside that perimeter defense set up by the Watson. Things looking not too shabby. I don't think they really need anything special right now. I hope they can spark up. So I say, catch up. Couple of taps coming through. Just making sure things stay all good for them. Making sure no one rotates in and causes a ruckus. But they've got the zone on their back. And they're detected by the sonar as well.
Oh, to be very, very cautious right now. 55 seconds here. The final round starting to close in. So it's going to urge some players closer together. I think that's 100% what's going to happen here. Too much Source caught in hella smoke right now. I think as well, only 2 players for the team. Ultimately, this is a position that should be a UTFT win. I mean, this is like gifted on a silver platter at this point with how strong it's looking. Everyone's just going to be switching out weaponry, getting ammo, just making sure you're ready to fight here. See what you can do. 4 squads, 10 players. That final ring closing in just a few moments' time. Going to urge some engagements, and it isn't doing exactly that. Capjam not firing off. I do believe that's one of the players into the red here in the fight coming out on the southern side.
Yeah, player. Needs to be careful. Nard's taking a little bit of damage as well, and he blue armor. Could come back to bite. Still need to be careful. Rowdy. Trying to escape out of here is going to be extremely difficult because UTFT, they got other ideas, and I think they know all too well about this setup. They're looking for those kill points, and they should be able to get them. There's a possibility of a third party coming through, though. Do they even understand who's behind them? 2 squads right next to each other, one being dropped. Teddy getting a double. I don't think Catjam are going to fall momentarily, or so I say. Too much swords to be eliminated. Catjam, I don't think they're long-lived for this world as player low on HP. Armor started to dwindle, but thankfully the new castle gives them a bit of breathing room, and the shield will keep things in their favor as the shield back comes up online. Mythic, the mains need to get some armor on board, but I don't think it's time. He will fall, and all starting to crumble, and once again looking very favorable towards UTFT.
Spam, great damage done by the RE45. Jack just applying so much pressure to the Levering. To the point where indeed it will kills, and well, there you have it. It's just classic UTFT, isn't it? You can't even get excited at this point. Feels like it's
concluded, and who won it? Well, it's no surprise, it's UTFT, another dominant showing from them as they continue just to be a force to be reckoned with. Well, I mean, for them, they are already, as been said, mathematically impossible that they don't finish first place. But how do things fare up overall in the leaderboard? We mentioned kind of after round one, the leaderboard was slightly wrong there, so we're still in the air about how things are panning out. And Franco Brit, another slightly early exit, potentially could change things for them in second place.
Indeed, and UTFT, what a game that they're having so far, right? What a brilliant performance that they've been having individually speaking. This end gunfight was a bit of a meme, but hey man, it doesn't matter. What happens, happens. At the end of the day, round two, same place, same position for UTFT. They take first, and as you can see, top of the score sheet, 8 kills, 20 points. That is a haul of points that they don't particularly need, but they certainly will take to continue to extend their lead. Mythic in second, 13 points. Catjam rounding out the bronze medal here with 10 overall. Of course, Chet's finding themselves in fourth, TMS fifth, Predator West sixth, Murky and the Franco British Union at the bottom 2 slots. So those are our top 8 teams in the round standings. How does that fare up today in the overall standings of today?
Yeah, I mean, that might change things quite considerably, and it has. Okay, well, I mean, where we are right now, of course, not just UTFT, but Mythic as well, with kind of back-to-back very strong performances from them. There's a world in which Mythic start to push in towards that second place. We all mentioned it was very close to the top between essentially second to fifth place. They were all in and around that kind of mid 200 point mark, and it meant that there was a real possibility that there could be some drastic changes. And with Franco Brits back-to-back poor performances, I think that could change things up. And Murky, similar scenario for them, right? Yes, they got a couple of kills here and there, but it's not been great in the points department. Only 8 points so far, back at 2 games, is a little bit of a poor showing. That could have some real long-term implications to the end results. And bearing in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is Grand Finals day. This is the last time. Consistency across all days, all play days is a necessity. And well, I mean, that hasn't been the case. Franco Brits 280 for their Murky, just in behind. Chet's hot on their tails. There's a world in which they can catch up. And Mythic with strong performances the way they've been having. When we head in towards Storm Point, who knows, man?
Yes, indeed. UTFT, 490 points. They are so clear. Franco British Union, well, they only find themselves 14 points ahead of Murky here, right? It is very, very close to that second place slot. Not to mention, Chets are 11 points behind Murky. And Mythic, well, they're only 13 points behind Chets. So... Yes. Not 13, sorry, 18 points behind Chet. But there you go. I'm surprised how well my maths went there now, in all things considered. You know, it could have gone a lot worse. So there we go. Point being, I feel like, there's like 60 points, 50 points between second and fifth. That is pretty close. I mean, it's not doable in the final 2 games. I don't think you're going to find yourself in second from fifth position. But certainly the middle positions can switch around very, very quickly here.
Yeah, I think the only thing that might hinder the kind of the drastic changes there in the top is the fact that because there's not as many teams, there's not as many kill points are up for grabs, right? And that's the only thing. With only 8 teams, really, you are limited to how many kills you can get. So that will change things, I think, and mean that, you know, that there's more reliance, as there should be, on where you finish overall. And of course, there where you get very concerned about Franco Brits, back-to-back 2 points. I mean, it's not a dream for them, for a side who, you know, were number 1 coming off the back of the open quals, and coming in towards today's play, they were more or less looking like they were shooing a guarantee for second. It might not be the case anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. We've still got 2 more games to go to see who will be crowned our ESL Apex Legends Premiership champions. We have a gut feeling who it might be. Let's see how the rest of the pack pans out heading into map 3.
Hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. ESL Premiership powered by Inter. We are just about to get underway into round number 3, and we've got a couple of changes up our sleeve. Storm Point is where we head now. We say goodbye to World Edge for the final time this season, but hopefully not the final time ever. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But on to Storm Point now. Bit of a change up as well. One thing that really does interest me going into this more than anything is you look to the top. You look to the kings of Apex within this region, UTFT. They were given the entire top left corner for free every single time. Trials, Skyhook, all the rest. Never in doubt. No one contested. No one cared. How do things change now going towards a new map, right?
Wondering how things change, as you said. I think it's very, very obvious that they were given a lot of space in the first 2 maps, in the first 2 rounds of today. The last 2, however, are we going to have people dropping on them? Are we going to see that change? Are we going to see that response coming out in trying to cancel UTFT from the word go, right? I think that's what we're keen to find out here. Don't think we'll be waiting too much longer here until we find ourselves into round number 3. But of course, as you said, it's 2 more games until the end of this season for the rest of the year, which, you know, sounds like a long time. A few weeks away. Maybe there's a new season coming soon, but I thought I'd throw that out there, a little bit more emphasis.
Exactly. There's only, you know, what day is it? 9th. I mean, I think in our job, the day of the week and the date as well, they all just blur into one.
Mate,
honestly,
it is, yeah.
What is a weekend? I don't know.
The calendar just keeps track of what I'm doing tomorrow. It doesn't. I don't pay
100%.
attention to the date. You know, it's just
100%.
it's all a blur. You know, it could be a Tuesday, it could be a Sunday for all I know. Obviously, it's Friday.
Exactly.
And the only reason why I know it's a Friday is because England play tomorrow. That's
There we go.
My measurement on time is like, when's the next footy game on for England, you know?
The second the World Cup finishes, you're a lost man.
Yeah, I just turn all the clocks off, shut off the calendar, you know, wake me up when I'm needed next.
That's it. That's you. Well, UTFT have been given a lot of room to if they're going towards down beast and also to the mill as well. So a lot of that would be decent information for them to get the fact that no one really got anywhere near them. A lot of people looking like they want to, you know, head over towards like a Stormcatch area, potentially in a rotation down towards Antenna. But at the moment, you look to where UTFT are set up. Honestly, they get, you know, down beast the mill, rotating through checkpoint, can also get a lot of Cascade Falls information. They're going to be so looted before they even see a person.
Mate, we were literally saying like, oh, we hope UTFT don't get given much space, and they get given more space in round 3 than they did in round 2. Like literally,
yeah, insane, isn't it?
A whole half the map. They are the only team in that first half of the map. That is.
It's pretty bonkers. I mean, they're going to be, like I said, I mean, unbelievably looted up before they even go into any sort of engagement. One thing that does interest me, one of the better teams we've seen perform today, Chet, said in that video just before we got live today that they don't really play this map. It's not a map in which is too much of a comfort for them, and, you know, I do wonder how things will change. You know, they don't like Storm Point too much, or they haven't played it competitively. Will this be... you know, will this hinder them, right? They've been performing very well. We said they were one of those teams who potentially could climb up the rankings, maybe even get themselves into a little bit extra cash on the way out of the end of the season. Now they're going towards a new map.
Yeah, maybe this is the chance for 2 early exits. You know, something like that. Go to bed early. That's probably not what they're thinking, but... Yeah, absolutely. I expect this one to be even slower than the last map, right? I think for everyone involved, no one's really near each other. At the stage now where placement points are really key. Especially for those teams, as we've consistently talked about through the broadcast today. Those fighting for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place. That race, every single point counts. Winning a game quite literally could be the difference. And I mean, first and foremost, you have to get rid of UTFT. I think that's the argument that very obviously needs to be made. But post UTFT removal, it is literally about who comes first and who can get the most kills. So maybe actually we start seeing a more gambly Apex Legends. You know, more of the coin flippy gunfights where, you know, there is a high risk, high reward scenario. But those are the ones that could genuinely separate your chances of coming 2nd and 5th by the matter of a gunfight.
Spot on. No, exactly that. For now, very slow, very quiet. No conflicts being taken. I mean, we kind of saw a little bit of kind of the potential to a fight coming through. I mean, a couple of teams were hovering around Stormcatcher, but no. Haven't really seen a fight at all being taken. Of course, all 8 and all 24. They're absolutely chilling right now. Cat Jam Their favourites are Big Mord, not present in towards Storm Point. How will they do? Will they suffer? Predator West, hang on a second actually. They might get a little bit of information. They're hunting. This could get messy. Charge Rifle says hello. Bit of damage and a lot more as well on the way out. Joe Bear taking the conflict, taking the fight and going aggro.
I like this, getting aggressive. For a team like Predator the West, trying to get involved straight up. I like the plan, I like the idea. Joe Bear can't really let them out. I think that Predator the West boys certainly are looking to make it that way. I don't know if they're even trying to engage at this point. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it just seems to be no one wanting to take the fights. It's Blade that doesn't want to back down from the initial contacts and continuing to push around. It surprises me, the fact that we have not had a single knock yet. How is everyone still alive? There we go, finally, shots broken. At least the shields of one. Kiranuzi's got to be careful because he himself finds a life where he is shieldless as Joe Bear trying to get stuck in, cracks the shield, switches back out to the flat line. Really good damage, and there we go. Rousey, excuse me, in the ringside. Going to find Kiranuzi, so a 1-for-1 right now, and a finish of the job means probably you'll find yourself Kiranuzi in a position where he won't be alive for too much longer, although pressure onto Blade leaves him at half health, no shields.
Yeah, struck a little bit soon there. Haven't seen a knock yet, and instantly a 1-for-1.
Straight in.
I mean, the question is, will player... they're bound to get recovered. I think they probably should be okay, but the zone is going to be a nuisance. This is the only thing. Trying to make your way down to that lower angle from the elevator position is always going to be problematic. And oh, the Reds of the West, they're more than happy to play contact here. Try and catch rotation. At least players' banners being collected, that's good, but rotating out is going to be very difficult. Archer to come through. Reds of the West might be very momentarily down to only 2 for the long term. And I think that's going to be the case. Things are getting extremely messy for them on the way out. A lot of damage dealt. It's Rousey all alone, trying to fight for survival here for Cat Jump. Desperately surviving, desperately trying to take this fight to them. And will do a lot of damage and somehow survive. Preds of the West, first squad eliminated.
That's criminal. Rousey gets away with that. Round 3, off to a brilliant start. Again, early fights being taken. I think Normans should just be able to survive. Have picked up the card of player, so for Cat Jam, can't get 3 players back in the server. I think their primary issue right now will just be that ring, right? You've got to get back into it, avoid all the damage, negate any fights while you're at it. The fact that they're going for the respawn now, I don't know. Are you a fan of this play? I personally would have. I would have waited a little longer, maybe until you're back in the ring, but clearly they think the better time's now, and I'm guessing just because you're in a position where you know no one's going to be shooting at you, you're all right, you're pretty safe, so just got to work against the ring rather than an opponent. So I guess there's drawbacks and pluses.
That's the only thing, right? I think it's just, for them, they're just super scared about being caught off, and I can sort of understand it, to be perfectly honest, because, you know, things can get quite uncomfortable really quickly if you're trying to, you know, get someone back in the game, but as you're, you know, rotating out, before they even get the shield bats online, they're getting peppered. You see over here, what the guys doing over to North Pad, just or getting some decent loot off the back of this slight trial to come through. They should have a fairly decent amount of loot to work with. It's quite loud though. It's some of the trials over towards World's Edge. A lot of people know about it. Franco Brits rotating in. They've had back-to-back stinkers looking to rectify the situation for them in towards round number 3. Not the first to fall, which is already a positive. Now it's about getting back to their winning ways and getting back to their kind of dominant top 3 performances.
I like that you haven't beaten around the bush. They've had stinkers.
Yeah, it's got to be said. Yeah.
They have had stinkers. Fair play. And, well, Mog's banner needs to be recovered. Coach wants nothing to do with it. Nick Bod, on your own, son. I'm out of here. Getting out of harm's way here as Nick brings his HP back up to an adequate amount. I think it's safe to say right now we are going to be waiting for the next gunfight. Probably for a little while here.
Good. I mean, 7 squads remaining, 19 alive. As we can see, a couple not fully alive. Mogs, I mean, banner needs to be recovered. I'm assuming they will. Maybe not, in fact. I mean, they're nowhere near, no. So they're kind of just allowing themselves to play it with 2. for the entirety is probably just hotly contested wherever that banner fell. And it means that for the rest of round number 3, they're playing an man disadvantage against what should be the regular preset. Over towards Mythic, one of the top 5 teams that we've been keeping an eye on. Prem VPs as well, coming off the back of the semis in that top 7. And they're looking very good in terms of the loot they've got to work with. Missile Swarm coming through. Coach taking the initial brunt of it. Needs to fall away. And is potentially being caught. Will respond with a bit of their own. Murky. Just making their presence known and trying to be as much of a nuisance as they can. But they've got a very easy rotate as well with that jump pad.
Savage, of course, to see that they didn't opt to take the respawn, the reboot card. I don't know. Maybe it's a decision that was wise, as you said. Maybe in a position where they can't exactly get it because it's just highly contested. Players, Murky. Where are they off to? Well, I think the pings would suggest where they're going. Yep, straight off to their right. No worries at all. In the meantime, just waiting for the zones to get a little closer together, for everyone to push a little closer together, because right now, obviously, it is still everyone, lots of space to work with, and no real pressure on any team right now.
Yeah, rotation coming through. Just a little bit of a reposition there on the back of the Skyward dive, but it's more information gathering as well. Elevated angle, Murky taking a spray. That perimeter defense set up as well could be problematic. Too much Source trying to set themselves up for success, and it's a very, very strong setup as well. Anyone rotating into them is going to struggle. They've got the high ground. They have locked and loaded this position. I mean, this is going to be nigh on impossible to force them off this angle in towards North Pad. And where we're set up right now, I think they can play long term, right? Just play the long game. They don't really need to take fights or take face.
Well, it's where the next ring goes, right? They've still got like a minute to wait until it's it's come in. But if obviously they're still in circulation, if that position that they have, that height that they have is still part of the next round, then they're in, as you said, like a godsend of a spot where actually you're not going to worry whatsoever about the opposition. You can just afford to take fire, run around, really just try and do the best that you can to the opposition that you're catching out here on these rotates, and ultimately too much Source, trying to apply as much pressure as they can. Spotting the ducks in the water, there you go. Well, she's going to crack Genji from UTFT. They are being caught in a pretty bad position right now.
This is the first time in all of today's action that we've even seen UTFT feel even remote amount of pressure. Nez, a couple of taps. Getting out of dodge though. They're in no man's land. For UTFT, they're in a horrible spot. Genji needs a shield back to stay in consideration. They are going to seriously struggle. As Genji just desperately trying to stay alive as best he can. And Jack in a similar spot. I mean, they're in a horrible scenario right now where they really can't rotate in. They're hoping that a third party essentially comes in to save them. At the moment, they're being given no life to work with.
The fact that every move is being penalised right now, UTFT are going to feel quite hard done by. There you go. Look at the damage done. Genji's got to be so careful. Chet's eliminated, by the way. Didn't even spot that kill was, that those kills are happening in the feed, but ultimately, indeed, Chet's are the next team to be removed. Chill back going to be used by Jack. Some cover here to negate the gunfire, and then obviously, indeed, he'll just drop round into the water. And hope for a safer rotate here for UTFT to get going. Obviously, they are in the ring right now, so don't have far to go to stay in this one, but ultimately, they're going to be looking for the best position while teams are just trying to stay in the game.
Yes, rotation coming through for Mythic. I mean, they are seriously looted. As we mentioned, when they're on the high ground, they had so much to work with already. And right now, gold armor on the mains. And then he's just taking a couple of pop shots. I mean, they're in such a strong position. He's been such a nuisance as well. A lot of damage being dealt off the back of that 30-30. With that scope, too, and 4 times, I mean, they're going to be in for potentially even a whole world of more pain. A rotation coming through. UTFT could be on a bit of a horrible spot. Teddy didn't want to take any pop shots, though. Didn't want to give away his ruse. Skyward dive will come forward. Reposition coming through. The space out as well. A Mythic just going to focus their attention on the way. Somehow UTFT get out of what looked like a done situation for them. It looked like we were going to see the champs fall early doors towards round number 3, but not to be.
I don't know how they make it look so easy as well, man. Like, if that's me, I just get squeezed. like right out the server. That is me. I guarantee you, I'd be in the main menu right now. You know, they're just so cool under pressure. Just talk to one another, what they want to do, rotate wise. They're set up, they're ready, they go, and they just deliver. Right, all three staying alive and looking as good as new. Looking at the position, of course, for some of these other teams. Aren't exactly out of it just yet. There's still plenty of work to be done.
Too Much Sauce are seriously chilling right now. I mean, they are loving life up there. It's so difficult to rotate onto them. They're never really going to be in too much danger unless the zone forces them away. They're just in a brilliant spot. Franco Brits rotating in. JC getting an armor back online. No shields back in their favor. And of course, with how things are standing right now, this kind of final zone is going to be so impactful, right? I mean, where this rotates off, does it force these guys into that little bit more open position on the bridge, or are they going to be chilling? We'll have to wait and see. We go and focus our attention elsewhere. Franco Brits, lower angle for them, but they're kind of just creeping underneath, just being a little bit of a nuisance. Hiding in the tunnels, but they are being rotated on.
Go, pressure being applied to those out at sea. Be cautious, of course. There's going to be plenty of eyes looking at them from both directions. That's why JC's going to pull away and have a check to the rear end of this defense, the bunker, as they set up. Still, best part of a minute before this fourth circle starts to close in and that ring gets even smaller. Murky trying to apply some pressure to help Euro out to their right. Quite a team, I do believe, just in front of them here. That's why Morito is clearing each angle carefully. So indeed, they'll just try and do their best to save their team.
Yeah, trying, right? 3-1. The shot missile storm will come through as well. Still, back to his elevated angle. I mean, as we've said time and time again, they're chilling. They're just trying to be annoying, right? I think it's quite smart as well. Everyone knows where they are, but for them, it's just more about how they want to set things up. Another ult to work with as well. They are really in such a strong position where they're never really going to face too much of a problem. Probably until kind of in those kind of latter stages. Not only have they got that perimeter defense set up, but then having the interception pylon too will make everything just annoying for them. Arcstar's grenades are always going to be more or less pretty useless. Missile swarm not going to be too much of an issue either. Mythic rotates in. Very quiet. Very quiet right now. I mean, look at the gear that over towards UTFT. They've looted up significantly. That's what we said about them having essentially half the map to work with. 2 players on red armor. No complaints over them. Nice pop shot. Tap on through. 42. Over love tap. Of course, just making the presence aware. Mythic. They need to be careful. There's a possibility of them being stuck in no man's land just a tad.
One of those that feels a little more up in the air. I think no one's safe right now. Still 6 squads, 16 players in this ring now. It's not even like that we're far apart. There are people literally stacked on one another. But still no kills to be had just yet. Charge rifle, clone's hands, trying to fire off. That is a chunky amount of damage done. The player's off to his northeast and pinging that out, letting his team know, yep, check it out, there's people over here. Obviously keeping a keen eye on that bridge as you were talking about. That's such an advantage right now, and teams that find themselves below it might just walk into the trap here of Too Much Sauce. They're in such a good spot. You can see the amount of leverage and just the positional advantage they have overall.
His potential is going to get seriously messy in towards these final zones. Being this one. This could get really choppy. Speaking of Rousey, lower HP, all alone, and could be not long lived for this world. Franco Brits might just want to guarantee themselves a kill. JC looking for a fight. Will he be given it? I think he'll get it momentarily. Looking in. Mythic slowly sneaking their way in towards those tunnels. This is going to come down to the finest of margins. You already alluding to it. 16 alive. 45 seconds left on this zone before it starts to move once again, and Mythic is trying to get out of dodge. Smoke will be dropped, and they're hightailing it.
Yeah, I don't think they know what quite they've just done to save that man's life under the One of the bridges in the water, as you said. JC was looking to hunt down. Instead now, plenty of leverage. I do believe actually they did find the kill eventually.
Yeah,
It's 5
yeah.
squads now, 15 players. So yes, indeed,
Bye-bye,
that is the
Catjam.
case. But yeah, I do believe it was a different team that got that single kill and the extra point. So ultimately in a position now where okay, decent spot. UTFT still in the picture, right? So got to be cautious for our chip leaders in that sense. You know, those that have got the most points. Let's see it though. Let's see it. Final few moments of this game, things are going to start kicking off.
They are. Round 5 starting to close as players rotate in. They are going to be stuck in a really rough position. UTFT, got the Franco Brits just above them, second versus first. In such a confined space. Genji trying to get out of dodge, so I say this could be messy. The Newcastle could be huge in this situation as Eva A stepping up, doing a lot of damage, and this is extremely messy. A couple of knocks coming through. Nez just trying to deny a lot of that presence as he himself takes a fight of his own, getting one. Too much swords, they've been eliminated on another side, and even more fights coming through as Nez is taking all the conflict. Him and Genji just about survive.
How on earth are UTFT alive? And why isn't there a team capitalising amidst the mayhem? But as you said, all 3 players are low. Why isn't there anyone pushing in? Why isn't there any pressure on the UTFT boys? That's what they're going to be trying to output now. Genji's having a look down the line to spot out a few more. Remains wants to get stuck in and, well, exactly that as a player. Not right now. They're just looking to finish the job and they will do exactly that. AJX is gone. Franco Brits eliminated. 1v1 in the squads right now. It's UTFT taking on Mythic and they have been absolutely disintegrated. And there we have it. UTFT back to back to back today.
3 for 3. These guys are just a force to be reckoned with, and they continue.
Very over-respected UTFT, it felt like, in that 3rd round here of our grand finals in play day 9. Just another free win to add to the tally, right? I think that's number 16, if I'm not mistaken, this season so far, Nao. It feels like it, at least.
Yeah.
It's been another very, very definitive performance from them. I will say, you know, to no detriment of their own, and it felt like just the other team's issue. This exact engagement here, right, caught with literally everyone on low HP, and no one decided to opt to push them. They're just given so much space. No one wanted to third party, no one wanted to challenge UTFT, and whenever they're put in 1v1s, especially, you know, team v team combat here in the ESL Premiership, they have just looked unstoppable.
They have. I mean, they just continue to be so dominant. And, you know, there was moments where you're thinking, of course, you know, maybe they're going to get punished here. And they don't, right? Especially like you mentioned, when they were low HP and you could see even Genji, right? Just trying to desperately stay alive. Shieldbat's coming up online. For them, you're thinking, okay, surely they get traded now. And wasn't to be. Mythic again, yet another consistently good performance from them, and it's good to see Franco British Union back in the conversation after back-to-back 2 points. Rough showings from them. We were thinking maybe they could be just about to potentially choke out their 2nd place overall, but thankfully not to be. A 12 points to them with a 3rd place overall should mean that they still remain relatively comfortable over towards their 2nd place, and as long as they don't have any major catastrophes in towards our 4th and final, they should be fine.
Yeah, we can have a look at today's standings, of course. Now we are 3 games down and 1 more to go. It feels like UTFT are maxing out on every opportunity, on every lane so far here in the rounds. 57 points here across the 3 so far, of course. Mythic across the 3 streets that they've been playing, they've gathered themselves 41 points, which is 20 points clear of Czechs, who found themselves in 3rd place, despite a really good round 1 and a semi-decent round 2. They've really struggled towards the end part of today, which is the opposite to the Franco British Union, right? Very slow 2 games, found themselves with 12 points here in round number 3.
And funnily enough, it's exactly sort of as we predicted as well. For Chets, they said we don't play Stormpoint. We don't know the map in terms of a competitive space. Will that affect them? Well, the answer was yes, it did. They did struggle, and of course, it showed. Overall standings, 500-point mark broken by UTFT in second place. Franco British Union, 292. These guys are monsters, to say the least. Murky are still hot on their tails. I mean, there's still a world in which they can make that work at 271. And of course, Chet's a similar sort of gap for them in towards fourth. And only on the edge now with Chet. If they have another bad performance the way they did, because they don't play Stormpoint, they don't know the map too well, Mythic genuinely could creep themselves up towards fourth place, which will be such a great resurgence from a side who, starts off the season a little bit shaky, we're a little bit all over the place, and in the latter stages have found this form, found this consistency, and of course they are our Prem VPs from yesterday, and, deservedly so.
And they're 7 points off of overtaking Chets, right? It is genuinely down to the final game to see who finds himself in that position, of course. Still one more game to go. Still more that round 4 to be played out to see, of course, who is going to find themselves where at the end of the standings here in the ESL Premiership Apex Legends. We're going to throw this one to a quick break. When we are back, though, it's our 4th and final round up next.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final time we get to say that, of course, as we go into round number 4. Stormpoint for the second time here, and well, we already know who's winning this one out. We said it coming in towards today. Mathematically impossible, but they've continued their dominance, and you've just got to hold a lot of respect over towards UTFT. Really, really great work from them. And I think it's more now, our attention definitely going towards this final game has to be focused towards teams within that top 5, because it's still up for grabs. I'm talking, if one team creeps their way in towards a win here, potentially gets a couple of kills at the back of it, it could completely have a massive shake-up towards that top. And as we mentioned, for Chets, who don't like Stormpoint, have haven't played it competitively, for them to drop out so early, they really struggled in the points. Murky are hot on their tails, only 7 points behind. It could be Murky going up towards 4th place and Chet's dropping on towards 5th.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more keen to see the middle of the pack fights now, Neo, because of course those are the difference makers. I think we know UTFT have had an unbelievable season, and we'll probably have a little chat more about it after today when the games are done. But indeed, it feels like that middle segment, right, from 2nd to 5th, there is such a small gap in points between them all that it could go any way, right? It really, really could just go in any direction, and that's what this 4th game is here to decide. If Chets are going to hold on to their position, if there's going to be shock horror where there's another team that's brought into the equation, where another team bombs out early, and those 4 positions between 2nd and 5th can flip in an instant and just like that. So yeah, we're going to be keen to see it happen. Hopefully not too long until we jump into the action. Question for you, UTFT, is it going to be 4 for 4?
It seems like it, because also the way in which they set themselves up on towards Storm Point looked a little bit stronger. I think they got quite unlucky, or quite lucky and unlucky in 2 different times. Their rotation, they struggled just because the Franco-Brits were above them. They could never really get any quote-unquote high ground. They were stuck in those tunnels, and they made things very, very difficult. But on the other side, they did get very lucky that they survived that initial engagement and didn't get third parties as well when they were, creeping their way into the top 3. So, while I think it's down to the wire, I think they've got a very good chance. They're definitely the most informed side today. No questions asked. I don't think that is stating the obvious, to say the very least, as they are 3 for 3 right now. But they're looking as confident on World's Edge as they do on Storm Point. If UTFT, even if they bring like a slither of the ability we know these guys can, they should have no problems at all. And well, that's been the case so far.
Yeah, they've looked unbelievable this season, and I think we'll have a little bit more of a chat about them after today and when the overall standings are brought up for our final game of today. But of course, ladies and gents, for the final time, you're hearing our final game, final round, final play day, finals day. A lot of finals, and unfortunately, at the end of it, it's us wrapped up for the year here in the ESL Premiership. But of course, that's not to take away from an awesome game that we've got ahead of us. Ladies and gents, let's jump into the action for the very last time.
Once again, standard drops coming through for the most part. UTFT giving down Bs, giving the milk, and rotating through checkpoint. That's what gave them so much, loot to work with early doors, right? So, we'll have to wait and see how things pan out. Do look, the Franco-Brits are going to be in for a little bit of a fight. It does seem. Are they making their way over towards Gale Station? I think they are. I'm looking over towards Gale Station. So potentially they could be tested there, which could be a little bit on the dicey side. But we'll have to wait and see how things pan out. Of course, it's Preds of the West who we're focusing our attention on early doors. They can loot up, not too much of a problem. Like we've seen in the majority of the last kind of 3 games, the first 5 to 10 minutes shouldn't be too much of an issue here. Just a side note as well. This is, both on World Edge and Storm Point, Cat Jam and Preds of the West, they're both, they drop next to each other. I'm sure these guys have just agreed, like, right, lads, let's drop together. Let's just fight to the death, like, from the get-go. And I love it. I love the confidence.
Have a scrap.
Yeah, have a scrap early doors. They did it on Big Mord earlier, and they're doing it once again here.
I respect it. Chilling. Everyone, pretty slow stuff. How's your week been, Naya? We haven't actually had a chance to chat to one another. It's been pretty all on. How's life going, man?
It's been alright, man. It's been alright. Had fairly decent amount of CS stuff going. Not too shabby, and of course, just big chilling. It's been quite an easy week. It's getting cold now. It's getting cold, so you got to wrap up and hopefully, Blade's wrapped up in some armor because he's taking a couple of pop shots, trying to get another dodge, taking quite a significant amount of damage, and he will just hightail it.
Don't blame him. Get out. Don't risk it. Take a bit of damage himself, and cracked, in fact, by player completely. Cat Jam probably thinking about going for this one. Indeed they are. Hello. On the door. Get to the other side. Jump right in. Where are they? That's like my Batman impression.
It's a great one, mate. It's a great one.
Cheers.
Fantastic attempt.
It's like one I got in the locker, Like, I realised yesterday when I was watching CS, I have a pretty good Finnish accent. Obviously, I won't do it to embarrass myself. No amount of peer pressure will force me, but just another one added to the tally, in the back locker.
Just in case. You never know when it might be needed. And I'll respect that. I respect that. Well, for now, a couple of pop shots coming through off the back of that wingman butt for Franco Brits. And met with an incendiary. JC, just going to get on a dodge, needs a shield cell to get him back to full. Or a couple, in fact. See himself just trying to take a little bit of an engagement here, but at the moment, they need to be extremely careful. Over towards Fish Farms. Trying to loot up as much as they can. Spotted one going up. Looking to be a bit of a problem, and that's a loot as well. Oh, okay.
Wow.
I think we may have a couple of tech issues, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see by the screen right there. Who would have thunk it? But
congratulations, UTFT. No, joking.
Off the back of it. Yeah, unfortunately, a couple of tech issues. I think there's a bit of lag spikes coming through. Of course, we saw the same issues maybe from earlier, where of course they were changing the domains of the servers and all the rest. So maybe it's kind of carried on in towards the fourth and final.
Yes, hopefully one that doesn't last too long. Maybe we'll throw to a break in a bit. We don't quite know how long this is going to take. So yeah, we'll just keep on our toes a little bit. But that was one weird way to end the game there. Like we weren't told that it was ending. It was like match ended by admin. I was like, whoa, what's happened here? Like, what's going on? But no, it is. I do believe a couple of players we've been told that are having like connection issues and ping issues and what have you. So it's just going to be one that I think they're going to say, do you know what? Better off if we restart it. It doesn't matter how this one's gone. It's not like we lost anyone just yet. I think it was just a couple of breakout fights, people chasing each other. The norm, right? We hadn't actually lost anyone just yet. So I guess that's probably the most sensible decision to make. Nonetheless, ladies and gents, we're going to head to a quick break. When we are back, it's hopefully a retry and we'll get into the fourth game.
A brief technical issue, and I think we should be getting back on the way in towards round number 4. It's a fresh restart. Go back, we can kind of ignore everything we were saying prior, and we'll see how things pan out momentarily. I think they're all just, selecting their legends, and then we can get back on the way in towards what is the 4th and final round. That was just a test drive. Now's the real deal, and of course we have to see how this one will pan out. I'm still interested to see how if Preds in the West and Catjam just agree to go for the same drop point and just try and fight to the death and see if things who'll come out on top in the 4th and final. But of course we're looking over towards that top 5. We're looking to your likes, your Murkies, your Mythics, and your Franco-British Union, and your Chets as well, to see who will end up in what is a very, very congested 2nd to 5th place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of a shame as well that we don't have like full lobbies for these final games, and we're not talking like the whole shebang. But yeah, it's one of those at the end of the day. We've got 8 teams battling out. UTFT in first, of course, and there's no disrupting that. They've just kept on pushing their lead further and further in, and I don't think there's any stopping that. Of course, for everyone else, however, as you said, that fight 2nd to 5th is looking pretty likely right now that things could change there.
It's looking very spicy, indeed. I think Franco British Jr. seems to be doing just enough to keep that second place. It's more about Chets who struggle on this map. They said they haven't played Storm Point competitively. And the first time outing, in round number 3, wasn't too pretty.
Indeed. Let's see where the drops are going. And you obviously get the overhead hit. So everyone moving the drop ship, and UTFT given the mill. Obviously, that was meant to be the phrase. Then realised they actually did land at the mill. That's another one that you probably heard me say. The mill. He's like the whole lot.
Yeah, run of the mill.
Run of the mill, exactly. There you go. It's like the mill. They've been given the mill. It's like the shortened way of saying it. So there you go. Run of the mill, mate.
Yeah, see how things are panning out now. A couple of different drops coming through. I mean, Franco Brit still going back down towards Fish Farms. They're happy taking that control. Launch pad by Coach and Co. But no surprises. UTFT giving down B's, giving the mill. And kind of that rotation towards checkpoint for free. I mean, we see, well, the zone's starting to be set up. And actually, once again, another one that is quite favourable for UTFT.
Indeed. Right now, everyone's just chilling. There we go. Charge rifle coming out. I've got to say, it's been some time since I've seen a charge rifle being used without a sight on it. Like, I actually forgot that's what the sight looks like. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being me. But, then again, I hate the charge rifle in general. I'm just such a noob with it, so.
It's tough to make work effective, I think is probably one thing.
Well,
I mean,
there you go. It's got to be in the right hands, and I am far from the right hands, you know?
It does happen. Joe Bet, he's got a decent amount of information. I don't think he wants to do anything with it. I think for Reds of the West, that'll be an ill-advised move, right? I mean, for them, they haven't got the high ground. The position's not fantastic. Neither do they loot as well. Wingman like, oh, no, they're going for a fight. They want to take it. Tap will come through. Wingman going to go for the inside angle as Play takes a whole host of damage, but deals some himself. Very close to falling. Kieran Uzi trying to rotate in and do as best as he can, but this is getting extremely messy. Prowl at this sort of range. Only burst, but it does exactly what they need. Joe Bear to fall. Looking for more as well. One not coming in. Get themselves onto another. Resurrect coming through. Will it be denied? Mastiff struggling. Couple of punches to come through. This is a catastrophe all over the shop. Blade will find player. Player finds Kieran Uzi in a trade. And Rousey so low on HP that he is just about to join them.
So much damage done, Lawman somehow alive. I don't even know how he survived for this long. Obviously his teammate Rousey taking some extensive damage as well. He's got to be careful. So much going on right now. Joe Bear, of course, his banner needs to be recovered. Plays the last stand in here. And it is just not meant to be. Preds of the West eliminated.
First side gone. First time, of course, we've seen an initial contact being taken so early doors, and no surprise at all who it's between. Preds of the West and Catcham. There's got to be an agreement. They're like, all right, lads, let's just fight to the death. Early doors. Whoever wins it, essentially in for the points, and they're not complaining. Once again, we saw this exact positioning towards the previous game be so strong. This time it's held by Chet, side who are desperate for points on Storm Point. A map in which they're not strong on, as they've rightfully mentioned themselves. A map in which they've never played competitively. And high ground, not a bad place to have.
Here. I mean, it was a fast start compared to other maps, but ultimately I feel like that means just a slower middle of the game. Although I say that, Marsh taking a bit of damage. Coach is peppering him from range here for the Chets boys. And a rip, do believe flat line from that range is not a bad choice to have, but at the end of the day, I think Chet's realising best kept alive here and get those placement points going, so they want to disengage as best as they can, and kind of relates back to the point I was going to make, in that this is probably going to be an even slower middle, and we are going to wait, a fair few minutes for that ring to close up.
That's it for now. That's coming through. Jets, they've given up the high ground, and they're just going to retake it now as they rotate in, just playing zone. Better way to do it. But it's very, very slow. I mean, as you mentioned, there's probably going to be very little to work with for the time being here. And probably not until we get into sort of round 3-4 will we see any sort of fight coming through. So I'm not expecting too much to happen. Just play things slow. Make sure you guarantee those final spots, especially sides like Jets.
All right, let's see it. Very, very slow right now. Nothing too much going on, too much sauce. What sauce are we on about here, you know? Barbecue. It's like, I don't know, people use sauce as like a... I forget what the actual like meaning of sauce is. Oh, that's bad of it, isn't it? It's 19. Sauce I'm gonna have to Urban Dictionary this one. Who knows? Yeah, we're just waiting for stuff to happen now, I think, at this point. I was just saying there, like,
Chilling, mate.
I forgot the meaning of sauce. Like, it has, like, a youth meaning.
What, sauce?
Yeah, like, sauce.
Well, it means a
Someone
couple.
that's, like, style. That's what I was looking for. Too much sauce.
like drip. Or,
yeah, I'm with you now.
Alcohol as well, so...
Oh, can it?
It can be one or two, yeah.
Fair enough, I did not know that one. But
there's a couple of different meanings. But
yeah,
drip, I think, is the more commonly, you know, like style, fashion.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Sauce.
But I was like, too much sauce? Like, what sauce are we on about here? Like, barbecue, tomato, but then I remembered, like, it's probably in relation to, like, the urban meaning, right? Rather than the literal one, so... That was just me being a bit stupid. You haven't missed much, mate, don't worry. We've literally been chilling, you know? Wondering when the next fight's going to happen. I'm thinking it's that Chet's engagement. You can see Coach moving in on the eastern side of the map, just underneath their Martian coast. So, got to be cautious. I was going to say there's a team deep in the ring right now, right? There's like a team standing in the middle of the damage. So, yeah, we'll see. But for now, nothing too much going on.
Well, already for Murky, they're just rotating in. I think they're not going to have too much of an issue. Just make sure they've got everything to work with. But I think as things are panning out right now, no problems. Very slow, as expected. 7 squads, 21 remaining. And even splits. No one falling just yet as we head into round number 2. And I don't think, like we said, we'll see anything until kind of 3 to 4 before, I mean, similar to what we've seen in the previous 3 rounds, right? It was always in kind of, you know, round 4, 5, and maybe a little conflict in towards 3, but it's always when that ring comes down to the final few moments.
Certainly. And you feel like this one's going to have, like, mega implications over the rest, right? Because, of course, it's like, this is the one that means the most. This is where, like, everything's on the line. You know, all the chips are to the middle of the felt. It's the last one. Everyone wants to win. Be a cool way to end the season if it wasn't UTFT. But then again, it would also be a very cool one to see on the finals day that they just win all 4 games. So
that would be cool. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
I'm a bit torn.
It would really solidify. I mean, I don't think it even needs to be solidified, but you know, their dominance, right, throughout this entire season. It's kind of the first thing that we said. You know, week 1 when we were on, we were saying consistency is key, and they have been the kings of consistency. Which is why you have to be so impressed of how they've managed to keep this going for 9 separate play days. I mean, it's just dominant work from them. Either way, Mythic, information gained. I don't know, Texas 3. I don't know exactly where they are. Beast of the Hunt has been popped as well, but for the mains, he's not really going to use it to be too aggro.
Well, mains firing off a few shots, and indeed playing the game of chase right now. Gunfights are happening. Teddy, broken shield, trying to get back into the action here with the R301. Good second damage done, as Teddy will drop Wyback, finishes the job as well. Going to find even more damage. Too much sauce eliminated. Mastiff shot will finish the job, and indeed that is our second squad removed.
Looking for even more. I mean, for them, as we said, down to 6. Luke can come through as well for Mythic. He needs to get online. And the way they're set up as well, that perimeter defense once more. They're going to be absolutely chilling right now. I mean, they don't need to do anything too audacious. They are in the zone. And they're more than happy just to park up and allow, essentially, for other teams to rotate in and around them.
Getting comfy. Setting in reality, of course, of having to play the long game. So, you know, make sure the drinks are at the ready. Get the energy drink next to you. To be fair, I'm not much of an energy drink consumer.
No, neither. I like my coffee.
I know. I was
going
gonna say I know you like the caffeine intake. To be fair, I'm pretty good with that kind of stuff. You know, like I don't even rely on the caffeine too much. I mean, definitely does help, especially like the really long days. Fortunately, these ones are a lot shorter than other Premiership products. You know, the CS we have like 6-hour days. The ground one it was like a 14, 18-hour. It was 18-hour day, wasn't it? 14-hour stream, 18-hour day, including me waking up and doing all the prep and what have you. So it's nice that we just sit down, a couple of hours of Apex, call it a day. It's not as needed for me. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, Murky taking a little bit of a fight. You're only slightly cautious. Might just want to get out of dodge, actually. Really smart to play. Arcstar being prepped and ready. Seer as well coming through. Harsh Karge allowing to have a lot of utility. This is great teamwork. That black hole, that gravity bombing just being such a nuisance for them. For Murky, they might be able to find a little bit more of an easier rotation coming through. But Franco Brits want a piece of the pie as well. And they're coming in for the flank.
Certainly are giving it some. You can hear all the damage happening right now. The R3R1 looking to make the magic happen. Clone Shield's basically lost at this point. So indeed, I was going to say, I wonder how quick he's going to pull out the battery. Ajax, in the meantime, is going to drop a couple. And all of a sudden, this is looking terrible for Murky. Did they start the game with 2 players? Or, I mean, either way, they're eliminated. But I was going to say, it's like someone just rage quit. I don't know what's just happened there. Crack the shield of another. Still trying to get engagements here, Franco Brits. They know how important these kill points are. And they are hunting for blood.
Yeah, they're just making sure as well that they have just a little bit of a extra comfort room in terms of that second place, right? Get a couple of points on the back of kills and no one's complaining. And of course, for them, no one's catching. Murky falling, I think potentially that might mean that they have confirmed that second place. So they are chilling a little bit of BM as well. You do love to see it. I mean, part of the culture. Harsh Karge's loot box taking a significant amount of damage. For now, 5 scores remain, 15 alive. 3 across the split. Jets are going to rotate in themselves. They've already got great zonal position. It's very open. Where do they want to set up?
Far and away. Nick having a good look in. He's spotting out, obviously, the opposition moving in from right to left. Jets don't want to commit to anything because they know how important these placement points are if they want to keep themselves at bay. So yeah, just playing the game of longevity. 5 squads, 15 players. I don't expect any movement in terms of gunfights for the next few moments, although I say that. UTFT, is that 2 kills, I do believe now? Rhodesy and Lawman's gone. Wondering what's happening over there. I think that's the ideal situation to be in. As you can see, Franco Brits also trying to get stuck in themselves.
Trying to. Really decent amount of damage being dealt there by Clone. Just being a bit of a nuisance as much as he can. Bad way to play it. High ground, good for them. They go back over towards UTFT. Genji's got great armor, but not a lot of it. The bat online, maybe a Phoenix kit to give him some room to work with. Ultimate Accelerant will give them an ult to use with. Of course, in hands of Clone, that could be quite something coming up. I mean, they're just happy to play high ground right now. 5 squads remain, as we mentioned. A little bit of damage being dealt once again for Franco Brits. It's about seeing this one off in towards a strong position. If they can climb the top 3, they should guarantee themselves that second place overall.
Should. I think mathematically it's looking very likely unless the impossible does happen, right? Or what feels like the impossible does happen. I think for Chets, they want to get stuck into a few more fights. I do believe between them it has been a pretty eventless game. I don't think they've had much in terms of the kill count and what have you. I do believe it's 0 between them all right now. So they definitely do need to up that, as you were saying.
Yeah, Chets needs to be careful as well because, you know, as you mentioned, 7 points behind with Mythic hot on their tails. If they have a stinker, that could be quite dicey. Of course, they have climbed their way towards top 5. He's on the hunt online. I mean, he's trying to take a couple of taps. Of course, information being gained here, but to not much avail. He himself using that sonar to find even more fights. He's trying to go aggro. This guy's going back to bite him. Walking into danger, but a great tag to come through. 71 and a fall away off the back of the missile swarm. Once again, just being a nuisance as he is detective, and he does not care. He still carries on going aggressive, and this could work in his favor. Taking engagement, knock him one.
Important Mythic still looking for opportunities. Here we go. Still trying to fire off enemies as well. Getting up close and personal. Breaks another shield. Got to be careful because he himself is low and knows Better to stay alive now. Chet's on the scene. They want revenge. They want a response. They want these kills. And so Morg's here to try and apply the pressure the best he can, and he will do exactly that. Nipod gets the second. Coach is actually going to get picked up here. And so Chet's still at 3, not to mention the fact that's massive damage done by Morg. Sure, not the kill, but certainly going to be influential. Chet's starting to find some momentum, and playing with this pace and power certainly could put them back in the run-ins here.
Yeah, that's it. Rotation coming through as well. That's it, becoming a bit of a standards clone. Will find Moggs looking for doubles, and he'll find it. He just confirms that on towards Moggs. Things looking very good now for the Franco Brits, collecting a couple of kills and making sure they secure themselves into that top 4. That focus of attention has been such an important thing for these guys, right? Getting that information on rotations, denying people getting into the zone, and again, more to come. JC, we'll see off Coach. This is looking like it might be dead in the water for a couple of teams. They're trying to rotate in towards the zone, but time is ticking.
Four squads, 9 players. If there is ever a chance for an upset to happen, it would be in the mayhem that we've seen in the last few minutes here. Clone trying to ping out. That's the Spidey senses. Yeah, I reckon there's a couple of players here. The utility would be a giveaway to that, as well as the gunfire. Already firing up the shots here. The wingman JC just trying to lay down some hate here. The wingman, to be fair, he's pretty damn accurate with it. Not better than I am.
Yeah, he's looking
I mean,
alright.
as you'd hope, by the way, that you should be better than me with the wingman.
You're looking pretty good with it. Cells come online. JC, a lot of damage being dealt, in fact. Just wants to hightail out of there. Smart decisions to be made. JC needs to get the cells back online. I don't think he has a bat, so that could actually become a little bit of an issue. Doesn't matter. AJ will continue to push his agenda on that rotating player. And that missile swarm becoming problematic. Nick brought a fall to JC's hands. That missile swarm does exactly as intended as Chet's get eliminated. And I think potentially there's a world in which that fight for 4th and 5th could become a little bit closer, but much better from Jets. 4th place is better than the last they had in towards round number 3.
I think Jets had a brilliant comeback into today as well, right? If I'm not mistaken, I don't even think they were in the top 5, sort of in the middle of our Premiership. Like, they've done a really good job in sticking their heads back out into the main run-ins. I mean, don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. I don't remember the fine intricacies of the table game by game and day by day, but if I'm not mistaken, they got off to a very slow start in the beginning few days of the Premiership as well. So nice to see, of course, they are getting really stuck in, and as you said, doing very well for themselves. But of course, this final game to see what goes on. Final few minutes, it feels like as well. 3 squads, 8 players, shots still breaking out, decent damage done. As firing away. R301 continuing to output a little bit of damage here.
Oh, great beam. Armor cracked as well. I mean, Clone, that's fantastic individually. One mag, but it works wonders. Wingman looking to seconds as well. Trying to get a couple of pop shots. JC forcing his agenda, but nothing to be found. They're just playing high ground. Smart way to play as well. Zone just in front of them. They don't mind at all the way they're parked up. 3 remaining in our finals. Final round of the final day. On a new map as well. And there's 3 squads remain. 8 alive. Franco Brits, who were the #1 contenders coming in towards this competition off the back of winning 3 out of 4 in the open quals. Looking to see how to win on their final game here and confirm and lock in their 2nd place. This might already be so. Clone, take some damage. Needs to be careful. Shield battle come out of line for him. A cell just for JC to get back to full. He wants to continue to deny this rotation coming in. But AJ going to find one.
Here we go, final few moments, breaking out. Shots rattling off. Nez tagged up a little bit, gonna have to use some syringes, get himself back up to full. Same with the Jack situation, UTFT in general. Still got 3 players though. Like, it's just, if there was ever a chance amidst the mayhem here in round 4 of Playday 9, you'd have thought maybe, just maybe, UTFT would have found themselves in a little bit of a disadvantage. No, not the case. They are still thriving right now with the HP and the players that they have. Obviously, Cat Jab down to 2. They lost Rousey early on. And so ultimately, you know, you're going to basically need to catch UTFT with their pants down, and everyone needs to shoot at them at once, it feels like, to get them out of the server. And the Franco-Brits, I think they are giving it a good stab.
Yeah, Clone. Dealing a lot, but taking a lot of damage too. We need to get a bit lovely for him. Same could have for Nez as well. He'll use a battery, get back online. All quiet on the Western Front right now. I mean, UTFT, Franco-Brits first versus second. And of course, Catjam, who have looked consistently better over the case of this entire tournament. They started pretty poorly. Two remaining alive, as you mentioned. That could be problematic for them. I think as well for UTFT, playing that low ground, they're hoping for a third party. Great beam coming through. Decent amount of damage. Clone continues to just be annoying as best as he can. He takes a whole host of damage.
This is where it gets intense. Still firing off, still getting damage, still trying to cause issues here. The Franco-Brits are in a pretty good spot right now. All three players pretty healthy. AJX only losing half the shield. And now JC wants to move around. Good positioning. Really good damage. Backs away. Keeping his life intact is the most important part. Clone's trying to get himself stuck in as well. And ultimately, shield backing away. JC really overcommitting there. And that's going to cost him his life. Down to 2 now, the Franco-Brits, as the damage still continues on in. AJX out to his right. As maybe, just maybe, they think about the res, but no, not going to happen. UTFT to take away one of the Franco-Brits, and they still have their own issues. Nez is quite tagged up. Jack, he's going to fall to his knees as well, and this is where it gets interesting. UTFT want to get stuck in. Really good damage, but it sure isn't enough from Nez, and it might be that UTFT cannot go 4 for 4, as it is in our final moments, in our dying embers. The Franco-Brits eliminated. It is Cap Jam against UTFT, and they are still looking for blood here. Lawman's over the top. Good damage done, at least to the down player. Problem is, player's gone, and I don't think he's going to have a way back. Ganji back up on his feet, and for UTFT, Jack surviving, such low HP, trying to find the kills, trying to do it. Not going to happen. Now all down to 1. Ganji's got to do it all on his own. Massive damage, and UTFT, you're back to back champions here at Apex Legends. They are your winners, of course, and they have done it in such reputable style. All 4 games today, and you cannot argue this season.
For today, Jack said it, he proclaimed it, and they delivered. What a performance then. Round number 4, and it's no surprises. UTFT continued to step up, and I gotta say, Nez on the Newcastle was a fiend there. Genji with such a clutch in the latter stages on that revive, saved the day for UTFT and kept that dream of a story alive. It was in no doubt who was going to win out the entire competition here in the ESL Premiership Apex Championship, but wow, what a way to do it. What a statement, as you mentioned. And now they solidify their names in the history books the first time. And they are the champions with no competitors, more or less, at all.
Well, I think things were definitely made hard for themselves in a few of these games, but you are right. When you look across this entire season, like, they've been invincible, untouchable from beginning to end. It was a pleasure watching them in game day 1. You know, they were a team that we didn't particularly have on our map, right? Because they were a team that didn't do too amazingly in the qualifiers, did enough to get into the event, and since then have just been an unbelievable tear. And you cannot argue that UTFT had a brilliant game today. I mean, as you would expect, the round standings go their way. Catjam doing a brilliant job, by the way, in keeping up with the pace here of UTFT. Bearing in mind, obviously, they don't even get points when it comes to winning the game, right? Because, of course, it was UTFT that took that. The fact that they only sit a single point behind the the number 1 spot is massive, of course. The Franco-British Union also in the double digits with 13 points, but the round standings mean nothing without context. We can first look at today's standings and have a little chat maybe about how that one shapes up to be. Of course, it's one that you would expect UTFT, having won 4 games out of 4 today, that they would find themselves at the top of the score sheets. But of course, you're looking elsewhere. You're looking at your Mythics, who find themselves at 48. Chets could have had a brilliant game in that final map, but ultimately not to be. And it is indeed UTFT with the gold medal, Mythic take the silver, and Catjam for the bronze for the final time here in the ESL Prem.
Credit to them as well for Catjam. Like you mentioned, I think they're a side who struggled at times with consistency throughout the season. Mythic are Prem VPs from last play day, stepping up in towards the second place. We can take a look in a moment at the overall standings as well and see how things pan out. And it's absolutely no surprise to anybody. That's UTFT in first place, 526 points, 19 wins, 15 more than any other team. I mean, that is bonkers from UTFT. Franco-British Union, they take a second place with 305, creeping up into that 300 mark. Murky in third, 273. Chets and then Mythic round out the top 5. It's been a competitive bout at the top, I think it's safe to say, but what an end.
Winners here in the ESL Premiership, Apex Legends. Now, what a privilege it has been to watch them through this season, and to see them on the final day do exactly that, I think is the really nice encapsulation of what this season has been about for them. Because from beginning to end, they have been just on rails in the UK and Ireland scene.
You know, it's not only been sort of dominance and consistency, it's been versatility as well. I mean, flexing the legends they go in towards, playing both World's Edge and Stormpoint and making both of them look easy, like it was just another day out in the park. I mean, of course, yes, they were tested, but, you know, the fact that they can consistently come out in a top place position despite the adversities in front of them, a lot of credit has to be given to this side. And of course, they're one of those teams that you look towards in terms of consistently being names on the tip of our tongues going in towards potential future seasons here within the ESL Premiership, because they are just being so good. And I think, you know, now when we look towards potential future seasons, they are going to be the side that have a target on their back. Everybody has to look towards UTFT, look to the way in which they play and try and adapt to it. But ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is us done and dusted for this season.
I know,
we hate to say goodbye, but we have to. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure to be alongside you. We started off this whole journey back in Play Day 1, and here we are on Play Day 9. Before we sign off, we will thank our wonderful sponsors, Intel, Aegon by AOC, and Logitech. Without them, none of this would be possible. Of course, our wonderful production team as well over at ESL. You wonderful people at home. Without you, you know, who would keep us company? Who would watch the awesome Apex we had to deliver? But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. My name's been Neokai, joined with a lovely retro, and for now, we bid you farewell.